Hey everyone, and welcome to another video. So I'm very excited because tomorrow Wildfire officially launches. But here's the secret: you guys are watching this tonight, or today, I guess I should say. I'm filming at nighttime. And Wildfire's already up. I haven't told anyone, but I'm telling you guys now so you can go ahead and go buy it. Link will be in the description below. Wildfire and Earthquake and Volcano all have brand new covers. It's amazing. I'll pop them up here. But to celebrate, I thought I would do, instead of like a live stream or anything like that, like I had a bunch of ideas that I wanted to do for the launch video, and I thought I would divide it into sections and do each of these things and separate the sections using YouTube's, generator thing that it automatically separates it, so you guys can jump around to the fun sections that you want to watch and just jump around and watch whatever segments you want to watch. I call them segments. We've got a Q&A. I've got a couple of games coming up that I play that you guys can play with me, alongside me as you watch. I've got some behind the scenes information and some little insights about the books and everything. We're gonna go over some of the trailers. I mean, we're gonna have a fun time. It's gonna be great. I'll be ranking the characters even, so stick with me. You don't want to miss it. But again, if you have limited time, you can jump around and come back and watch the whole thing later. And eventually I may even take these segments and separate them and make them their own videos too. But I hope you guys enjoy this video and enjoy celebrating Wildfire's launch with me. Hey guys, so this is part of my Wildfire launch party celebration. So this segment of the video, I may actually do another version of this so I'm bigger, but for this segment of the video I'm going to be reacting to the trailers for Volcano, Earthquake, and Wildfire. I haven't watched these trailers since they came out on my YouTube channel. I will have them as cards here, so pop those up now. And I'm gonna react to them and maybe break them down for you guys and give you guys a little bit of insights on them. So let's check them out. I'm so excited for that. And yeah, let's do this. So Volcano's trailer came out 2 years ago, which would be 2023, 2022, 2021-ish. I don't know. Yeah, seems about right to me. And that's the old cover. Hold on, if you noticed, that's actually the old cover with the font before the font on my old cover was even changed. So that's very old. And this was also back when I used to have my introductions. I thought that was the coolest thing ever. So we're gonna skip past that. Okay, hold on. Christian author fangirl, that was my original tagline. Still had my website though. Liam is as famous and reckless as they come. I remember, like, finally having the ability to get stock footage. Like, I had that at the time, but for me, it was like my fantasy books are really hard to find a stock image for because it's like some random fantasy scene that doesn't make any sense. So about this, I was really excited for being able to finally have a contemporary book that I could find actual scenes that matched the book for. That was very special. So I was excited to find all these. His fame and fortune come from his wild adventures all around the world. I was excited to find all these different clips of things that Liam might have done. Rock climbing, deep, diving, hiking on a ice mountain. I don't know what that would be. So it was kind of fun to see visually gliding, which he films for his YouTube channel. Never before has he gotten hurt. Surfing. He's actually a really good surfer in the book, so that clip was really exciting. Until now. Rock climbing. If you know the books, you know what that's referencing. Again, just the idea of having actual clips that match the book was so exciting for me. And this was the first time I'd been able to do that. Liam and Julia have been best friends for a long time. So all she wants to do is help him. I loved getting the clips of seeing them together, just like, being best friends. And it just, again, matching the book. But sitting on the sidelines isn't what Liam does best. Especially when it seems like his life is over. They actually argue quite a bit in the books, and it's really fun. To help Liam, Julia takes Liam and a bunch of friends to go on a vacation in Hawaii. It's the Grand Canyon, but we don't even know about that. But all that does is make Liam's inner adrenaline junkie want more. I remember getting this clip and thinking, that's Liam. That is literally... I remember thinking, this is Liam, and this is the clip from the book when he jumps off. Like, this is a clip from the movie, from the book, I mean, when he jumps off the cliff. Like, this, and then coming out of the water, like, oh, it was like seeing my book come alive. It was so amazing to get to put this in the trailer. So, especially when his views and subscribers are dropping. This one, I was like, this is so Liam. And his career is ripped away from him. Especially if you know that part of the book. The last thing they expect is a volcanic eruption to happen. Let alone the worst one in Hawaii's history. But after a massive earthquake split California, the surface of the earth is on the move. And Liam and Julia are standing right in the path of destruction. I do remember the program. I can't remember what the program was, but I remember you couldn't put two texts overlaid on top of each other at the time. So it was like I had to make that other one really short so I could put that other one before the volcano clip ended for some reason. Especially when Liam and his friends decide to climb the volcano to have a look right before it blows. Like, what an ending, right? Join the epic journey, and see, that's the old font. That's before I got the curly. Here, I'll show you. Hold on. Let me see if I can pause this. So again, these are all the old covers. So, brand new cover, I'll pop it up here on the screen. So look at this beautiful new cover. Now, see how the font is all weird? That's what my old designer had changed it to look more romancy. But this does not look like Christian romance. So that's why we have this one now. Pop it up on the screen here. So it's all good. So all these trailers were done back with the old covers. These are the new ones. So we don't have to worry about that anymore. The first part in a series filled with adventure and romance. Still a good tagline, though. Tagline. Oopsie. Okay. Still a good tagline, though. Hopefully we can cut that part. Okay. Next, we're going to take a look at Earthquake's trailer. Okay, so little fun fact. I never made a trailer for Earthquake. I thought I did, but I've looked everywhere on my YouTube channel. I scrolled, I got all the way to volcanoes, never did see earthquakes. I looked in my old YouTube folder where I kept all my YouTube videos, and I have Earthquake Launch Party, and some stuff about the Million Word Challenge, but nothing about a trailer, so I didn't make one for Earthquake. So now we're going to react to, or I'm going to react to and break down the trailer for Wildfire, which I just released this year, so it's my most recent trailer, and it's the best one yet. Because it had not the program that I use now, but it still had my good editing program that I used before this one, but I like the one I'm using now. But anyways, I digress. Here's Wildfire. Same series, just book 3. Whoopsie. Alright, we can't even see that. Like, what is... Okay, my face. Can I move... I can move my face! I swear, guys, I didn't know that. So helpful. Alright, I did not know that. I know on my computer one I can, but I had no idea you could do that on the phone. Like, that's so cool. Okay, starting over. Like, I was actually so excited. I used Canva to make this, and I was so excited because Canva Pro, technically. So shout out to Canva Pro and Canva in general. But I was so excited to have the amputee clips because I thought that was going to be really hard to find clips for. And I'm like, dang, I'm going to have to do something generic. But I found a lot of like amputee clips to use because I wanted to bring that out because as a part of Andrew's character, like his struggle with that and just bringing out like the amputee people, like disability people, people who lose a limb, and veterans who lose a limb and stuff like that. Like that was a huge part of the book. So happy to be able to get the clips from that. So first of all, I found a typo in that last one. Plans for future plans, like that's a typo. Gotta love it though. And then I was really excited to find the clip, that same like amputee that was in the other clip for the physical therapy was actually like hanging out with the girl that looked like Natalie. So I was like, this is amazing. Like it looks, you know, like I was able to really bring out the book. And like, again, like the Liam one with Volcano, like it really feels like it's from the book. So that was really cool. Anyways, I forgot to be reading that, so sorry. No wonder why that felt really silent. I guess I just got into reading it. So as Natalie prepares for a crucial gymnastics competition, Andrew joins his family managing a resort where Natalie's family will be staying. Balancing their families, their differences, and their faith becomes a challenge neither welcoming. Continue unthinkable strikes. A massive earthquake shatters California and triggers volcanic eruptions in Hawaii. The ensuing wildfire spread like a relentless consuming force, threatening everything in its path. Andrew's battle with his own demons take a backseat as they face an even greater foe. In a world set ablaze, their own life becomes a lifeline. Their courage is put to the test, and Andrew's struggle with PTSD becomes a fight for survival. Oh, that's so good, you guys. Wildfire. Okay, I'm gonna pause this one. So again, old cover. Here's the new cover. Enjoy. Wildfire is a heart-stopping journey of love, resilience, and faith, where fire tests the limits of human strength and the embers of hope burn brighter than ever before. Calamity's Hope Book 3. Order now. So obviously the link in the description to this whole video for the whole series. Hope you guys enjoy. That's the reaction to the trailer, and let's I'm excited to move on to the next segment of this video, so I hope you guys enjoy. Now I'm just gonna stop this thing. Hey guys, so welcome to another segment or section of the Wildfire launch party video celebration. It's been a couple days since I've been filming these, but I wanted to film these when I'm actually excited about the release and stuff. So anyways, so this section we're going to be doing a Q&A. So I asked people on my Facebook profile and in my Facebook groups and just anywhere in a bunch of different places to ask me questions that I would answer in this video. So this is the segment where we actually get to do the Q&A. So I'm very excited. So let's get right into the questions. So the first question comes from my Facebook profile. My friend Kimmy K asks, how do you choose a cover for your books? That process for me has changed over the years. I don't use the same process that I once did. I also realize I have hair sticking out here. Gotta love having curly hair. So originally when I first started publishing, I used to just imagine what would fit the book. And then as I went traditionally published and self-published, I learned that, you know, there are certain types of covers, certain types of genres that get a certain type of cover, and you have to stick within your genre. And then I learned it's more about marketability and making your book appeal to readers and less about making it actually match the story. So you'll have a lot of fantasy books that have the female on the cover and she may not even look like what the female character looks like, just for example. So usually you'll have, like in the fantasy genre, you'll have either the main character, which is typically female. You don't really see a whole lot of male covers, or object themed covers. There's been recent ones where rom-com books are now going more animated in style, but you still have like sweet romance that still has either the couple or a landscape. You have, you know, suspense, which usually has a city landscape with a silhouette or sometimes no silhouette on there. Of course, you have erotica and dark romance and some of those where it's just the bare-chested guy, shifter romances and things like that. Picture the wolf or the animal on top of the woman and maybe the man. Sometimes you'll get a couple being promiscuous. Sci-fi is usually a spaceship in space, you know, so you have different genres, and I didn't know that at the time. So now when I try to do book covers, I try to think about what genre is it and what would appeal to readers and what do other covers in this genre look like. And I try to get more focused on markability, and even more so now since I've been burned by a designer who didn't know what she was doing and made wrong covers that were not professional. I'm even more careful about who I hire. Not only are they affordable, are they professional? Do they know, you know, how to make covers and design covers in the genre, that sort of thing. So I do try to remain true to the book, but I think more about the markability and what other covers exist in the genre and how they should exist. So that's kind of what I think of now. So with the Calamity's Hope books, when I just had to get them redone, these were the originals, and these are the new ones. And basically the originals, I was told that they look promiscuous. They do not look like clean romance at all. A lot of them said that they would be embarrassed to be seen with it because it looks very like promiscuous. And spicy, so to speak. So when I redid them, I wanted them to look clean, but I also wanted them to look professional because some of them, you know, the couple was far away. It was the full couple. Others were close up. A lot of times you couldn't tell what the couples were doing and who was grabbing who. And it was just, it didn't really feel right. So I wanted the disaster to be, you know, more focused so we could get a blend, you know, the readers would get a sense that it's a romance book with a natural disaster toward the latter half of the book. That's what it is. So we had the couples at the top, the text kind of in the middle, and then the disaster at the bottom. And when I did a comparison to this, which I did in my vlog series, so I'm excited to release that as well. If it's up, I'll put it as a card. A lot of the romance books that were clean and Christian did actually have that pattern where it's usually just a landscape sometimes, but there were covers that had the couple at the top and then the title and then the landscape somewhere behind them. So it does kind of fit, and they're all in the same spot. So like the couples are all in the same spot, the titles are all in the same spot, the landscape in this case is the disasters all in the same spot. So it gives the same vibes, and like it looks so much more professional. And so that's kind of what I focus more on now. Very good question. Next question. Okay, so the next question comes from one of my groups on Facebook, Authors and Readers Lounge, from Rachel Turnage. I'm so sorry I'm butchering your last name. She has several different questions, so I'm going to do all of them as quickly as I can. So what made you decide to write a military romance? Can you go into detail how you're going to represent PTSD, which is messy in a clean way? I'm curious because I haven't read a book that has mental health focused and is clean. So the first question, what made you decide to write a military romance? I do have military members that are a part of my family, and I've always had a passion for the military and for the soldiers who fight and protect us all throughout history. I've always had a passion for that. And on top of that, as a reader, I do like, even in a fantasy setting, the idea of a soldier, military, like I find them very brave, what they do. And so I've always had the desire to write a really good one that honored the soldiers, what they go through. And I've written a lot of soldier characters. So there was one it's a contemporary fantasy, so it's set in the modern day, but it does have a fantasy slant to it that I haven't released yet. I have another military book that's my first and only thus far action book that's modern action, where it's just like a modern day thriller with no romance in it, just action, which was really hard for me to do. So I did a soldier in that one. Honestly, a soldier is kind of a repetitive character that I do because I just admire soldiers so much. So I've always had the desire to do that. But this time I really wanted to focus on a soldier who came back like as an amputee. And I wanted to show the PTSD in a realistic way and not just, oh, it's a fun book trope. Oh, it's going to make a great romance story. Like, I wanted to get realistic with what they actually struggle with. And so the fact that the disaster was going to be a fire, giving him PTSD about a fire made a lot of sense, and it kind of like made his story have like a whole arc brought the arc to a full circle, I feel like. So for me, how do I do it in a clean way? PTSD, I guess it's because I think in terms of clean books, because that's the only type of book that I write. But for me, the two are disconnected. So just because you're showing PTSD in a realistic, accurate way doesn't make it where it has to be unclean. And so for me, I don't know what kind of books you saw or anything, but for me, it was like I could see it and I know how to like write it. And I've done it before. As I said, my other character in the fantasy one is dealing with PTSD for a completely different reason and circumstance. And I portrayed it in that way, but it also connected with the fantasy aspect. So in this one, I just wanted to be realistic with it, but also realistic with having a man who thinks logically. And so rather than, not that people with PTSD don't think logically, but it was really exciting because I don't normally do logical characters because I'm emotional and I don't write it very well, but I inspired it some from my husband. He has a very logical mindset. And so how would somebody with a logical brain work through this emotional issue that he doesn't have control over? And it's one of those things that created an interesting dynamic. But for me, it was like showing the flashbacks. I'm also have been writing books that do have action and some violence in them and portraying that in a clean way. I've been doing that for a very, very long time. Even though I'm desensitized to a lot of violence, it doesn't bother me when I watch it or read it or whatever. I already have mastered the art of doing that in a clean way. So for me, it was just pretty simple. And that part was easy for me. So yeah, I just wanted to do it in a realistic way. But for me, like being realistic about issues like PTSD and mental health, are messy, but I like being realistic in my books. And so I feel like there isn't a level of like not clean to that, but that could just be the way that I write and the way that I prefer to write. Because I always try to write in a clean way that isn't unclean, while also being very realistic about the issues and topics that I choose to focus on for my themes and stuff. So I hope that makes sense and answers your questions. Next question is... Okay, so next question comes from my personal fan group, JW Warriors on Facebook. And Rhonda Rail, my mom, asks, how do you come up with such wonderful stories? That's awful sweet of you. Thank you. And honestly, it kind of depends on random, like sometimes I'll watch a movie and get an idea like, oh, that's an interesting idea for a world, and then I'll just kind of invent like my idea of a world, or I'll see a character like I really love the idea of that kind of character and I'll incorporate that into another book, or I'll see like, oh, I really like, you know, pieces of this plot and combine it with pieces from another plot, or you know, it kind of comes from anywhere and everywhere. So there's really no set, you know, sometimes like I have the idea, like for example, the fourth book in the Calamity's Hope series, as of right now, I'm trying to do it to make it Flood. And one of the ideas is for a character to be a vet tech in there. My sister's a vet tech, so it's inspired by her and she's going to be helping me with it. But I have no idea for the guy character, so we've been kind of back and forth on different things, and like, you know, I'm already getting more ideas for the fifth book, which I don't know what the disaster is on that one yet, so it may be that will be the fourth book if I get more inspired for it. So it's kind of like, sometimes you have an idea for a character, but you don't have a plot, or, you know, an idea for a second character in the case of a romance, so you kind of just, it's always kind of random. So Rhonda Rail also asks, what inspired you to write this book? With Wildfire in particular, the idea was the story of a soldier who comes back as an amputee with an amputated leg, and his struggle with that, as well as his struggle with PTSD. And the premise for the romance was to meet a girl in physical therapy, and she'd hurt her arm, broke her arm in a car accident, so the two kind of hit it off. And I really liked the idea of her family being rich, and like not really liking the idea of her being with an amputee because, oh, you know, they're really kind of arrogant about it, like, oh, we don't want you to have to take care of him for the rest of your life, and like he really feels obviously hurt by that. And then his family owns a resort, and coincidentally that's the resort where her family's gonna stay, with her meet coming up, and it's just like this really exciting premise that came up. And so that's kind of I don't really remember what inspired the idea behind it, because I've always wanted to do something like that, where the PTSD soldier going through a lot, realistically dealing with it, was the focus of the book. I've always had it as kind of like a background, just a part of the soldier's character. And so I really wanted to make it like the spotlight. And it seemed like it fit with the Calamity's Hope series really well, given that the first one deals with a YouTuber who's hurt and his views are going down. And then the second one deals with the guy character going through grief, and the female character not getting along with her dad because he moved them out there. And so the two are kind of fish out of water, where they're in a town that they don't like, that doesn't really like them either. So it seemed like it really fit. And was also a romance that I could be really passionate about. So last question comes from Heather Pruitt, at least on Facebook. I may have some more, I'll have to check. But anyways, last question. Heather Pruitt, my really wonderful friend, her book is actually releasing, launched by the time you guys are watching this. Her book will have launched last week on the 13th. So shout out to her. Heather Pruitt, H.A. Pruitt, if you want to look her book up. Anyway, she asked, do the characters' names have special meaning? So not really, no. Andrew was just because I've always liked the name Andrew, and I like that it can be a nickname for Andy. And so that was where his name, I wanted him to have the nickname Andy for those who are close to him and care about him. So that was really fun for me. And then Natalie, I just really liked the name. So honestly, they were both kind of random and clicked with me. I don't really think a whole lot or put a whole lot of effort into the names, because when I'm starting to write, I already have where I get really OCD about the font that I use. It has to match the vibe of the book. And so I'll sit there with a blank page, literally just going through different fonts, typing a sentence, and then just continuing until I find the one that clicks. So it already takes me a while to get started, and I don't want to get stuck on character names, because honestly, you can get yourself stuck in a rabbit hole of figuring out character names for hours if you let yourself. I've done it before. And so usually I try to figure that out in the outlining process, because then it's like I can take more time to figure it out. So I try not to get caught up in that process. Like with his family names, like his family owns a resort, so he has like a grandfather, and then he has a mother, and his mother has two sisters, and they each have kids. So I was just like, all right, boom, his mother's name is, I think, Kelly, or K name Kathy. It's Kathy. His father's name is Sam, so Samuel sounded like an older man name. And then there's like Victoria and Marion, like just all kinds of just the most generic names I could pick that were just in a hurry. Like Natalie's dad is named Vernon, I think. I don't even remember her mom's name, Natasha, or that may be her sister. But, I just picked them out as quickly as possible to avoid spending my time in a rabbit hole with them. So I hope you guys, I hope that answers your question. So that wasn't actually the last question. I thought I'd posted to Instagram. So from Instagram, Heather Pruitt, H.A. Pruitt, once again asked the question, and this is a really good one. So this is officially the last question. How did you research to write about Andrew and Natalie's struggles? Do you know people with similar stories, or did you do something else? Great questions. So with Natalie, she broke her arm. And so with her having a car accident, I actually have been in a car accident. When we were in 2006, I was a bad girl, and I sat in the front seat I was in fifth grade, I think. I think I was in fifth grade at the time. And no, fourth grade. I was in fourth grade. And, which means I was under the legal age of 13 or something like that. And I remember we had just dropped my little sister off with her grandparents, because my mom usually dropped me off at school and went to work, because she worked the 3 to 11 shift at the time. And I was sitting in the front seat on a highway near where we live, where we used to live, my hometown, and it's Highway W, so it's got a lot of hills and curves. It can be a really dangerous road, and a lot of people take it very quickly, and it's like there's been a lot of accidents on that road. And it was early in the morning, obviously, because it was early in the morning, so my mom wasn't going, it wasn't when she had the evening shift, but either way, she's going to ready to drop me off at school. So the sun was rising, and we were coming this way, and another guy had come this way, and I think the sun was like in his eyes, and he was an older man who had just gotten out of the nursing home and really shouldn't have been driving, and we had a head-on collision. And I was in the front seat belted in. So fortunately I didn't fly out of the car or anything dramatic, but the airbag hit me and it burned the whole right side of my face, and it was horrific. I was unconscious at the time, and the van started smoking, and my mom couldn't pull me out because of my dead weight, and she was obviously very hurt. And she ran around and tried to get my door open and couldn't. And there was traffic had stopped, and there was this man who had like yelled at her and told her to stop freaking out, but he was just like standing there. And so this one kind Samaritan, like just random man, came, helped, pulled the door open, pulled me out of the car. I remember flashes, so I remember kind of faintly waking up when I was laid in the grass, and then I remember waking up in the ambulance and we were on our way to the hospital. So this eye was swelled shut, and I dealt with the burn on my face from the airbag really bad. I remember the hospital that we went to did not take good care of us. And I remember I had to use the restroom really bad after a couple of hours, so they had still not tended to me or my face or my mom or any of the injuries that we had. They let me up and walk to the bathroom, and I remember looking and seeing my face in the mirror and just being horrified as a little girl, because the burn would just look horrific, and they hadn't tended to us, and there was a whole drama with that part of the story. So it was a very bad hospital. In fact, we believe that was the first time my mom had hurt her knee really bad and broke it, and they never caught that. So later, when there was a bad ice storm, she fell and broke her kneecap, like broke it again. So that was like the original time. And now I actually have like a dip in my collarbone, and we suspect, due to some aches and pains that I always have there, and the dip that's not actually, your collarbone's not supposed to dip like that. We think I actually broke it in the car accident, and again, it was never caught. So yeah, random to say that I know dealing with a car accident, so I didn't want to do too much on the PTSD from that or any issues with that. But I did know about having a car accident, and I have broken my arm before, not associated with the car accident at all. So for me, it seemed like the most obvious way to break your arm is just in a bad wreck. And I did have some ideas that changed when I was writing the book. So that was part of Natalie's struggle was, so I was like, well, what would be a big deal about breaking your arm? I was like, if it is crucial to your performance, that would be bad. I remember when I used to be in Taekwondo, I had dislocated my toe, out of all things, playing Duck, Duck, Goose. It's a whole nother story for another day. Let me know in the comments below if you'd like to hear that story. So I broke my toe doing Duck, Duck, Goose, or dislocated, not broke. And I remember getting it tended to and stuff, but if I had broken something bigger, like it would have impaired my ability to interact and do my fun with the Taekwondo and stuff. So I was like, well, that's kind of the vibe I wanted to go with her, where she broke it. She has a meet coming up, and so I wanted her to do gymnastics, and so she has a competition coming up. It's her career. And then I thought, well, to add more fuel to that fire, pun intended, where her family was rich, they wanted her to be something else. They didn't want her to go into gymnastics. She had a different plan for her life. They wanted her to go in the family business. She wanted to just work a normal job and experience what it was like to like be a normal person. And they didn't like that, and she moved away from home. So she's very like separated from her parents. And I really got into that and sank into that. Haven't actually experienced that myself, because obviously my family's not rich, but that's okay. But it was just the premise of that surrounding the fact that, now she wanted to do gymnastics and she can't because she hurt herself in a car accident, and just the whole struggles that she has. And then on the flip side, we have Andrew, who is a soldier with PTSD, which I've already said is like something that I'm super passionate about. And I do have military family members, of course. And so I've always admired soldiers and military. I feel like we don't take care of them enough in our country. We don't appreciate them enough. And so I always have a deep passion for that. And I have used that in so many different books, but I wanted to do one book where it was just, that was the focus, that was the spotlight. I do have another one that's more of I wouldn't really call it a sci-fi, but it's just where there's a little bit, the soldiers are like super soldiers, but the rest of it's just like a modern world. So it's not, the super soldiers is not realistic, but it is a really exciting thriller book that I hope to publish sometime. But I wanted one that's grounded in reality, that's really realistic. And then of course, Andrew struggles with PTSD, but I wanted there to be a logic, like that struggle of, I'm logical, I think logically. And I thought about my husband, who's a very logical man as well. How would he deal with this? How would he deal with PTSD? Because he's not emotional. He doesn't go through emotional issues like I do. Like, he doesn't have any fears. Like, when I talk about my fears, like, he thinks about that may seem unrealistic to you guys, but that is how my husband thinks. And I know there's a lot of other people out there that are like that. And so the whole premise became like, what if you had a logical person who had this emotional issue that he has no control over? How would they think through that? And so that's kind of where the premise with Andrew started, and how I kind of dealt with them both. I did a lot of research about amputees, and I did a lot of research about how, like, what would they do, and there were I had to do research about horses, because they have horses on the ranch and taking care of them. So my husband's family had ponies at one time. I had a friend that I talked to about a lot of the horse stuff. And you know, I'm kind of a country girl, so there's a lot of like horses and cows and things like that. So it's like I kind of know a little bit about it, but I just wanted to do research on that. And then what do you do in physical therapy? Like, I guess I know it's based off your injury, but I had to figure out, okay, what would they be doing in physical therapy? Because I wanted to get it correct. So I had to do research about that, and just all kinds, like I really had to deep dive into amputees and like how they deal with it. And so I realized it's not just like, oh, your leg got cut off. It's like, was it above the knee? Was it below the knee? Because those are two different things and very different injuries. And it wasn't just cut off, he was burned and the nerves died. So like I had to research about that kind of injury and what would have caused that amputation, and just like what the steps would have been, how long it would have taken him to get to a prosthetic. There isn't just a prosthetic and then you're done. Like, there are different types of prosthetics. You have to work up to one that is a fully capable kind of prosthetic thing. So I had to do a lot of research because I wanted to portray that accurately, and I didn't want to get that wrong. So anyways, I hope that answers your question about how I dealt and researched for Andrew and Natalie's struggles. I'm really passionate about this story, and I feel like Wildfire is definitely my best contemporary romance that I've ever written. So I'm really excited about that. And again, the link will be in the description below, and I hope that you guys enjoy this launch party celebration for Wildfire. And this has been the Q&A segment of the video. So I hope you guys enjoy. Let's go to the next one. Hey guys, and welcome to another segment of the Wildfire launch party. So I have a very, very special game. So last week, or whenever it was, I figured out how to play Kiss, Marry, Kill with you guys, and I did like fictional characters from famous books and books that had turned into movies for the ones that I haven't read yet, like Harry Potter. So today, as a part of Wildfire's launch party, I am so excited to play Kiss, Marry, Kill with the characters from the Calamity's Hope series. So these characters are going to be from Volcano, Earthquake, and Wildfire. So with all of that in mind, first of all, I'm going to put my phone on mute or vibrate. So just like in the last Kiss, Marry, Kill video, which I'll put as a card here, for those of you, like, not everybody has read every book that was in that. So when I spun and got a character, I would explain who the character is, kind of give you a rundown of what they look like, and stuff like that. I'm going to do the same thing here for those of you who've never read any of these books. So if you haven't read the Calamity's Hope series books, don't worry. This whole thing is going to be fun for you, and this game can still be fun for you. So based off my description of who they are and things like that, you can tell me in the comments below what you would do for each round. So anyways, here's the game. So instead of Kiss, Marry, Kill, it's more like a kill is still kill, and then marry is like spending like lifelong time with them, like they become your roommate and you get to hang out with them for an extended period of time. So kill, roommate, or just like a meet them one time. That's what I'm doing for all the characters. That way I don't have to divide it boys and girls and stuff like that. And honestly, the only characters in this whole thing that I would want to marry or kiss would be my main guy characters, and there's only 3 of them. So that creates a bit of a conundrum for me. So we're gonna do meet, roommate, and kill. But Kiss, Marry, it's the same principles, Kiss, Marry, Kill. So how this works, in case you've never played this game before, every round, there's different rounds. So each round I will spin 2 characters. With each character, I will have to choose Kiss, Marry, Kill, or in this case, meet, roomie, or kill. And then you choose them first. So when you spin again the 3rd time, the one that you didn't choose is what you have to do. And this time I'm not doing take backsies. I did that with the last one. But whatever I choose is that, and whoever the 3rd person, like if I did, roommate and meet, then the 3rd person, whoever that is going to get killed, essentially. Or, erased from existence in this case, because they're all book characters. So let's get into this and have some fun. I am uploading a YouTube video, so yeah, All right, so let's do this. Start off with volcano, earthquake, wildfire. So I'll probably just explain who they are, like, in detail when I spin them, but just a quick rundown. Liam and Julia, those are the main couple from those. Liam and Julia are the main couple from Volcano. And then Alan, Christian, and Dean are Liam's crazy friends who are always in his YouTube videos. And then Jacinda and Nolan and Dahlia and Talon are all four fellow YouTubers, different YouTubers that they go on vacation with. Miles and Lizzie are the main couple from Earthquake. And then Lizzie's brother James, her mother Evelyn, her father Luke, and I actually forgot to do Miles's mother. Oh, I forgot I unhooked my keyboard. Give me a second. I forgot Miles's mother, Amy. And then Andrew and Natalie are their main couple from Wildfire. We have Jacob, who is Andrew's dad. We have Angel, who is his dog, his golden retriever, and she is a service dog because he doesn't have a leg. He's an amputee. He has a prosthetic. She's like a emotional support dog too. His mother's name is Kathy, and then he has a grandfather, Samuel, and then Vernon and Rosalind are Natalie's parents. So let's get right into this and do our first spin. We're gonna go over here. Move my face there. All right, I forgot how to do this. Okay, click to spin. All right, so round number one, character number one is Evelyn. All right. So, as mentioned before, Evelyn is in Earthquake. She is Lizzie's mother, Evelyn. And Lizzie's parents, her mother owns a farm, a ranch in Montana, and it's been passed down in their family through the mothers, the females, the women, in their family for generations. So, Evelyn inherited this from her mother, who is named Elizabeth. And she loves the ranch, and her husband, Luke, made a lot of sacrifices so that she could run the ranch. But he recently got a job promotion and moved the family out to California. So on the weekend, she travels back to the ranch to kind of oversee things, make sure the ranch hands are doing what they do. She's very much a country, hardworking woman who loves ranch life. So she's pretty cool, actually. I wouldn't mind. I need to see what the second character is going to be. But yeah, so she's pretty cool. I definitely don't want to kill her, that's for sure. But this is the second character. She's a really down-to-earth woman. By the way, if I spin again, in the same round, if I spin the same person in the round, I forgot to clarify that. If I spin the same person in the same round, we keep rolling until we spin somebody new. Seems like it's all Earthquake people. Okay, James. So James is Lizzie's brother, and he is kind of more of a city boy, but he actually doesn't really like California because he left behind like a girl and stuff like that, and a town. I can't remember the exact details. So he actually asked his parents, like, hey, Mom, the next time you get onto the ranch, I'm going with you, but I'm not coming back. And so it kind of makes the family a little sad, but he doesn't want to leave Montana, and he wants to go back, even though he's a city boy kind of thing. So that's pretty much James. He and Lizzie have this they love each other, but he thinks he's more refined than his mother and sister, and jokes with them that they're barbarians and stuff, and he has a really funny sense of humor, so I like him. I don't want to kill either one of them, so honestly, I think I would just like to meet James, and I think I would like to roommate with Evelyn. I feel like she could teach me a lot about running a ranch, and I feel like I could learn a lot from her. So, unfortunately, whoever I spin next is going to die. Let me know your answers in the comments below. Who would you like to meet? Who would you like to interact with? Who do you think you get along with? City boy, brother who thinks he's a little bit more refined than his family members, or the hardworking ranch mother? Let me know in the comments below. Third character, in my case, is going to die. Hopefully it's not anybody too important. Christian. Okay. So, as mentioned before, Christian is actually from Volcano. He is one of Liam's 3 main friends who are featured. Liam's a thrill seeker, and his YouTube channel kind of reflects that. So it's him and his 3 friends doing all these shenanigans. Christian is one of the friends who do the shenanigans. He's not as bad as Dean, but compared to James and Evelyn, I'm okay with Christian dying. I'm sorry, Christian. He's just kind of a crazy guy, and he's not as immature as Dean, but he still has a level of immaturity to him that he doesn't really do adulting, and he just likes to do things for fun and to get a thrill and to have fun. So he doesn't take life very seriously, so he'd be fun to be around, but I think I still am happy with my decision to room with Evelyn, stay on her farm, and have her teach me about Montana ranch life, and meet James maybe once just to kind of get a feel for his sense of humor. And unfortunately, that means Christian is dying. So how did your round 1 go? Are you happy with your choice or not? Christian's not a bad character by any means, so I'm not happy that he's dead. But next to Evelyn and James, I'd prefer it. He's just a really fun guy, so if that's your type, then that's fine. You can hang out with him or whatever. Whatever you chose. Let me know what you chose in the comments below. Let's get ready for round 2. Glad we finally got somebody from Volcano. Alright, round 2. Character 1, let's go. I freaking love this game. What is with Evelyn? I'm sorry. That's the 3rd time I've spun her, so I'm respinning. Only because it's like 3 times. It's too much. Okay. Alright, Jacinda. As mentioned, she is another YouTuber from Volcano. Liam goes on vacation with her. So the whole idea is that Liam is going to go to Hawaii with Julia, his 3 crazy friends, and a bunch of other YouTubers so they can film a bunch of collaboration videos and have fun. Jacinda is a military brat, so her father was in the military and they moved around all the time, but she learned from him. So she does a lot of survival tip videos and teaches people how to survive in different, aspects. She knows combat. She knows a little bit of medical like stuff, like not a whole lot, but she knows enough to help. And she's I really like her as a character. She's not tough because she still has the girly girl aspect to her, but she is tough and she is mature in the sense that she doesn't really do the shenanigans like the other guys, but she is willing to have a good time, hang out with her friends. She's very, very charismatic and has a lot of fun with everything, but she does have a soft side. So she's not like hardened, and she gets along great with Nolan. She gets along great with Talon, I think. I can't remember if it's Nolan or Talon, but one of those 2 she spends a lot of time with and kind of hit it off with him. So overall, she's a military girl, but she is woman, really, not girl. So that's pretty much Jacinda. Yeah, I really like her as a character. So that's character number 1. Let's do character number 2. Oh my gosh, are you serious? Okay, it's gonna be Luke. Okay, so Luke is from Earthquake, as usual, because we keep rolling Earthquake characters. Luke is Lizzie's dad. Now, Lizzie's dad sacrificed a lot so that their family could live in Montana, and so Evelyn, his wife, could run the ranch since it's passed down through the women in their family. And he wasn't able to pursue his dreams for a long time. But then his job, he got a promotion that meant he had to move out to California. And his wife, Evelyn, decided that, well, you've made a lot of sacrifices for me in the past, so now it's time for us to make a sacrifice for you. So they moved the whole family out to California, which means that Evelyn is sometime, on the weekends going back and forth between California and the ranch. So it's a lot of mileage back and forth. But he just now has a promotion, so Lizzie has a bit of a problem right now. She feels like he's being selfish, and he focuses on his work and his business, but he's a family man. Also, he is the reigning champion of their aggravation games. This family loves to play aggravation, and he's won over 100 games and is the champion. So they are really aggravated with him with that game. So he is an aggravation champion, in case you guys are curious. And for those of you who don't know, aggravation is like the early precursor to Sorry and Trouble. They just did the same game but like renamed it and gave different style pieces, but aggravation is like the OG version of that. So we got Jacinda and Luke. it depends on who the third character is going to be, but it's not that I don't like Luke's character, because I think for the book and the story, I think, and I personally think I did it really well. I like his character. He's a family man. He is a good dad, and he's the champion of aggravation. I personally just want to leave it open in case I get a little bit of a better character. So I think I may meet Jacinda, and I think I may kill off Luke. I hate to say that to my own characters, and I hope that you guys still like him. I like him too. I just think I'm going to roll somebody a little bit better that I would rather roomie with, so I'm going to have to kill him off. Sorry, Luke. Bye-bye, Luke. What are your answers? Jacinda and Luke, let me know in the comments below. So, third character, I have to room with them. If I get Dean, I may actually scream. Because Dean, I wrote him to be an antagonistic character, and I don't like him, but he's meant to be not likable. Ooh. Nolan! I'm okay with that. Okay, so Nolan is from Volcano. We haven't gotten anybody from Wildfire. Anyways, he's from Volcano. He's another YouTuber who goes on vacation with Liam and Julia to Hawaii. His YouTube channel, he's a history nerd. He is a history buff. He runs a history YouTube channel, so he talks about the history. He's pretty quiet. He's camera shy, ish, but like if he chooses to be on camera himself, that's fine. He doesn't like people like Liam surprising him on camera. Like all of a sudden he has to plan things out. He's very intelligent. He's very smart, and he's a history buff, but he's also pretty handsome. He has a joke that like when Julia first meets him, like he has a joke that when Julia first meets him, like, you were expecting an old professor, weren't you? And she's like, yeah. And he's like, yeah, his audience makes him sound like that, but he's actually kind of a young, handsome man. And most people assume he's like an old professor because of how intelligent he is. And I felt like rooming with him. So far, I've made really good choices in round 1 and round 2. And I swear I don't, like, you guys know I don't control the spin. But I think I would have so much fun just nerding out with him and talking history. I feel like Nolan and I would be really, really best friends. So I'm super happy to room with him, because we would just have our history books out and we would just start talking history. And then I could have him fact check Immortal for me. So I'm happy with that. So yeah, I would room with him, kill Luke. I'm so sorry, Luke. I swear he's a good character. He's a good dad. He really is. And then meet Jacinda once. I feel like I'm happy with that. I'm really happy with that. What did you get? Let me know in the comments below. All right, round 3. We do 5 rounds in this game. All right. Let's try again. Round 3, character 1. Finally, someone from Wildfire. Vernon immediately killing. Just kidding. But, so, Vernon is from Wildfire. He is Natalie's dad. So, Natalie comes from very rich parents, like super loaded parents. And I can't remember which one is which, but her mother comes from families that have been super rich, and it just kind of like passed down through the family. Whereas Vernon, Natalie jokes and calls him second generation rich. Because his parents didn't start off rich, but they worked at it and got rich. So he was born into it, but his parents weren't. So he's second generation rich. That's where she gets the term from. Both of her parents are really strict, and they have very different ideas for her future. Her mother is worse than her father, but he's still not good, and they do not like Andrew. And Vernon, being a protective dad, doesn't want Natalie involved with Andrew because he's a disabled vet, and he doesn't, and his family also doesn't own, like, they own a resort, but they're not like upper class like they are. So he doesn't think that Andrew can provide for his daughter, and he does not approve. So immediately killing Vernon. I don't even care who the next 2 are. Vernon's dead, you guys. So let me know what you guys would do in the comments below. Do you think you would like to meet him? He still has a heart. He still cares for his daughter. He's a little bit more bearable than her mother. Julia! Alright, I'm rooming with her. I love her. She's the main character in Volcano. She's Liam's best friend, and where Liam is all about thrill-seeking and getting that next adventure, that next adrenaline junkie kind of vibe. She is his voice of reason. She is the safe person. Dean is very rude to her, and he often calls her like the motherly person of the group, who kind of ruins all the fun because she's always organized. She's always trying to be safe. She's a photographer, so she really sees the world in terms of pictures and like, you know, taking really good pictures. She wants to take pictures and photos that are going to be life-changing and changes people's lives. And she gets that from her grandfather. Her grandfather was a photographer in the Vietnam War, and he took a lot of pictures that she's never seen them. He didn't show them to his family, but she traveled back and forth between the United States and his native home, Hawaii, and she grew up with a love of passion for photography that would have a serious message and kind of make an impact, so to speak. So I feel like I would have a lot of fun conversations with her. I feel like we would get along really great, and she's a safe person just like me, so we're like afraid of things, and she lets her fear get the best of her. She's always afraid Liam's gonna get hurt, and sometimes she lets that get too much for her, and I do the same thing, so I feel like spiritually we could also have some nice conversations with each other. So killing Vernon, I'm rooming with Julia for the weekend or however long we're figuratively doing this for. So the third person, whoever it is, I have to just meet them once. So hopefully it's not somebody too good. So, all right, third person, what would your guys' choices be? Let me know in the comments below. Lizzie. Oh no, instant regret. Okay, so Lizzie is the main female character from Earthquake. So it's basically the main female from Volcano versus the main female from Earthquake. Who do I like better? Which in this segment I'm going to have later one where I'm going to rank the characters based on how much I like them, not how well written they are. So that's going to be fun. But anyways, Lizzie. Lizzie is the daughter of Evelyn and Luke. And remember I mentioned that they have a ranch in Montana that's been passed down through the women in their family. So she's the next one to inherit it from her mother. And she actually does want it. She's very passionate. She wants to stand up to her family's legacy. She really loves the farm. She loves the country. She loves being outdoors. She loves, riding horses and mending fences and working with the horses. She loves her dog. She has a husky mix named Bear. And she hates it in the city. She doesn't like putting Bear on a leash, and there isn't a big enough park for him to run around, and there are no Christian guys in town, and she just misses Montana. She's angry at her dad for dragging them all out here, and she goes back to the ranch on the weekends with her mom, and she really wants to take over the ranch permanently because she feels like then her mom could kind of stay back in California with her dad and not have to make those trips, but she's afraid she's not ready. But honestly, she's a country girl, and I would get along with her so good. So I feel like between Lizzie and Julia, I would make better friends with Lizzie, but I feel like me and Julia would still get along. But unfortunately, because of my bad choices, I killed Vernon. Nobody cares about Vernon. And I have to room with Julia. I would prefer to room with Lizzie. I only get to meet her once. Hopefully when I get to meet her, she's got Bear with her so I could pet Bear because I love Bear. Bear is a wonderful dog. Honestly, he should have been on here too. So I think I may add Bear on here because I had Angel, which is, Andrew's dog, and she's a service dog, so I wouldn't be able to interact with Angel at all because she's supposed to be working with Andrew. So I'm going to add Bear to this list. Bear now gets, I forgot, I disconnected my keyboard. So, Lizzie's dog, Bear, officially gets a spot. Basically, Julia and Liam don't have a dog. My other female characters do. Or, not female characters. Andrew's not a female character. What am I even talking about? Delete that part. Okay, so, alright, that was round 3. Alright, we got round 4. Maybe I'm repeating a round. Oh, well, whatever. Round 4, character 1. Comment below what you guys got, like who you chose, Julia or Lizzie. Based on what I've told you about them, which one would you get along with better? The photographer who wants to make an impact in the world, who's like the safe voice of reason, kind of mother of the group, or Lizzie, the farm girl who loves the country and hates the city? Let me know in the comments below. Or Vernon. I mean, maybe you'd get along with a rich guy who sells houses for a living. He's a real estate dude. He's just a protective dad. Nothing again. I mean, I'm sorry that I killed him immediately, but it is what it is. All right. Round 4. Round 4, character 1. Let's go. Please, give me my guy characters. Please. We're passing right over them. It's Evelyn. This is the 4th time I've rolled her. I'm thinking about removing her from... I should remove her from this list. Yeah, okay. So obviously, if it gets Evelyn, I'm rolling again. Okay, so we've rolled Christian before, but that was all the way back in round 1, and he hasn't been repeated like Evelyn has, so I'm actually going to leave it. Christian, as another reminder, he was from Volcano. He's one of Liam's crazy friends. He's immature. He likes having a good time. He likes the thrills and the thrills and chills. That's not a word. He likes the thrills and adrenaline and just being a goofball and pranking people. He's really immature. He doesn't adult like very well. He's not the most immature. You know, he is sweet. He has a sweet side and he has a kind side. I would say he's just a little immature and likes to have a good time right now. So he's very much early 20s boy. Early 20s boy. I'm so old, I swear. So that's Christian, again, from Volcano. We've rolled him once already. And I killed him off. So who knows? Maybe he'll have the same fate. James. Okay, this is basically just a repeating round because I technically rolled Evelyn first. So James, again, Lizzie's brother. He's from Earthquake. He is a city boy, but he misses Montana because he left behind a girl. So he tells his parents, you know, hey, Mom, when you're going back to the ranch on the weekend, I'm going there and I'm staying, and it kind of hurts the family a little bit. He's a city boy and doesn't really vibe with the ranch. He thinks he's a little bit more mature, not mature, but like refined than his mother and sister. He thinks they're barbarians, but he has a really good sense of humor and he's fun. I don't know. Between him and Christian, I think James is more mature than Christian, but I feel like me and James would have nothing to connect with. I don't want to kill them off, so I think I'm going to kill off the third person, whoever that is, and I hope I don't regret it. This is just a bonus round, because I spun 2 people that I already spun before. So I think I'm just going to meet James, and I think I'd have a lot more fun. Maybe Christian could bring out my, exciting side. Like, maybe he could take me ziplining, like, 10 feet in the air. Like, nothing too extreme, nothing that would terrify me, just something kind of cool, just to get me out of my comfort zone a little bit. So I think I would room with Christian and meet James, I think, is what I'm going to do. So I'm going to kill the third person. What do you think? What would you do? Let me know in the comments below. And let's get the third spin. Killing Jacob. Oh, poor Jacob. Okay, so Jacob is from Wildfire. He's Andrew's dad. So Andrew is a war veteran. He was overseas when he lost his leg. And if we've watched the trailers by now, you guys have already seen that part. So Andrew's parents did get divorced. So Jacob is divorced from his wife, Kathy. They own a resort together. So once they divorced, like, Kathy and her side of the family kind of run the resort, and he runs the section of land where the horses stay. So the resort does have a lot of horse related activities, like horseback riding in the land that they own, carriage rides, you know, different things like that. So with those horse related activities, they switch out the horses. So sometimes they're staying at the barn in the back of the land and able to roam the fields, and then while the other horses are being used at the resort, and then to kind of switch it out to give the resort horses a break, they switch them out. And so Jacob hates people. He likes the country. He hated the resort. He hates the rich, arrogant people who come there. He's very much a country boy, but even worse than the people from Earthquake. He doesn't deal with people very well, and he's a rodeo guy. So he'll go on the road on the rodeo sometimes when he's not needed around the ranch, and he just loves to go. He has a very restless spirit, I kind of see, like, and he doesn't like dealing with people, especially the rich people. He isolated himself so much that he kind of isolated himself away from Kathy, and that's kind of where their marriage went wrong. So he's not a bad character, but given the choices that I have, I wouldn't want to, I mean, I would like to hang out with him, but I feel like me and him would have nothing to say to each other. So unfortunately, Jacob, you're dead. He's a good guy, and he's a decent character, and I don't want him to die. So, but he is. I have no choice. So I'm hanging out, I'm rooming with Christian, I'm meeting James, and Jacob's dead. So what happened with you guys, let me know in the comments below. Okay, so that was round 4. So I'm repeating round 4 because that was like a bonus round since James and Christian have already been spun before. So from now on, for rounds 4 and 5, the last 2 rounds, if I get any repeats, I'm spinning again. All right, so let's go. Round 4 official. Character 1, let's go. Stop. Technically, I've already rolled Lizzie again, but can I break my own rule and keep it? Because I only got to meet her before, and I want to room with her this time. Can I? I just said I would spin again. Alright, sorry Lizzie, we're spinning again. I think exceptions should be made for the main characters, I really do. No, Christian, get out of here. We're spinning again. Christian was a repeat. Obviously, we just had him last round. I'm not getting any of my main characters. The 2 that I got was Julia and Lizzie. Alright, I'm not even getting any of my main guys. So, Kathy. We just talked about Jacob. So, Kathy is still from Wildfire, just like Jacob. And Jacob and Kathy divorced because Jacob isolated himself. He doesn't deal well with people. Hates like the rich people who come around the resort. So Kathy and her family own a resort, and she helps manage it. So she works kind of everywhere doing everything. She's a really good manager. She's a really good mother. She worries about Andrew, and she wants him to rest, but she also knows that if he rests too much, like, he doesn't like resting. Andrew is a very hardworking person, so to not have anything to do makes him feel useless, and she knows that, so she tries to give him things to do. But she is aware that he only has one leg, and he has a prosthetic that is not very comfortable for him yet because he's in the middle of stages, and so she worries for him a lot. She loves her son very, very much. She has a couple of sisters who all have kids as well. She has a dad who helps her with the resort, and she helps him, so she's a very good mother. She's an outdoorsy person, and she knows how to shoot very well. She's a very tough, no-nonsense woman, but she's really fun, and I really like her character. So Kathy is from Wildfire. That's Andrew's mother. And she's character number 1, so let's see who character number 2 is. Ooh, just barely Alan. Good, we don't have to reroll. Alan. Once again, Alan is from Volcano. He is one of Liam's friends, not YouTube friends. He's one of Liam's friends. In Liam's videos, when he does thrill seeking, he has 3 friends, Christian, Alan, and Dean, who are like his sidekicks, and they do shenanigans and go crazy and do all kinds of wacky things. Alan is probably, out of Christian, Alan, and Dean, Alan is probably the most mature. He's probably the one who cares the most. So I would say he's a little bit more mature than Christian. But he still has that young, I want to just do exciting things kind of mentality, even though he thinks things through a little bit more than Christian and Dean. So I would say I would like to, I don't think I could kill either of them off. That's the thing. I'm just going to have to kill off the mystery. So I think I'm going to meet Alan once. I think I'd be good. I mean, I just did a whole hangout session with Christian, so I think I'm good in that department. I think I would like to room with Kathy for a while. Maybe. Yes. Because I would love to have her teach me how to manage a resort. That sounds like fun. She's still an outdoorsy person, so she could, let me interact with the horses. Like, that sounds like so much fun. Teach me how to shoot a shooting range. Do all kinds of outdoor activities at a resort. That would be fun. So we're gonna room with Kathy, Andrew's mother, plus since I can't seem to roll my guys, the only way I can see Andrew is probably to hang out with his mother for a while. So we're going to room with Kathy, and we're going to meet Alan and kill the mystery person. So who am I killing off here? Let me know what you would do in the comments below. Technically no one, but I did say Nolan. I did say I would respin if I got a repeat, and we've already had him once. I got to room with him once. So, spinning again. And it's Evelyn. At this point, let's just kill her off, because I have to spin again, because that's the 5th time. Put up like an Ellen count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 6? Seriously do an Ellen count on this thing. This is ridiculous. Still a repeat. We got Kathy and Alan. Just... Oh, thank goodness, I thought it was going to land on Bear. I was like, I don't want to kill Bear. Alright, we got a repeat. Alright, this is the last time because I still have round 5 to do, so if it copies... No! Oh, no! I'm killing Miles! Oh... I regret everything. That sucks. So apparently I'm meeting Alan, hanging out, rooming with Kathy, and I'm killing Miles. So if I had a redo, I would kill Alan, meet Kathy, and room with Miles. Alright, let's clarify here. Miles is the main character from Earthquake, and he is a very, very, very hardworking man. He is working 2 jobs because his dad died. They lived in Missouri with his mom, Amy, and his dad, John. And his dad dies, and so him and his mom couldn't afford the house or anything because his dad did a lot, and so they have to move to California back to Amy, his mother's family. And the family helps them get on their feet for a while. So now they're living in a really tiny apartment without much room. They have a lot of bills going out that they can't really afford. And he was in college for architecture, and he had to leave behind his college and his friends and everything and move out to California to a town where he doesn't really fit in. And now he has to work 2 jobs on top of going to college, so he overworks himself. He barely gets any sleep. He doesn't take any time for himself. He's just this hardworking man, but he's also going through a lot of grief because his dad was not only his dad but his best friend, and so he is extremely filled with grief, and it's making him angry, and he won't talk about it, and he hasn't really dealt with it. So that's pretty much Miles. I love Miles, and I'm so sad, but he's dead now. Alright, let's see if we can make this happier. Round 5, final round, character 1. Let me know how you guys went last time in the comments below. Nope. We've already done Vernon. We're redoing this again. So, did you guys have a happier ending? Please tell me you guys ended up at least getting to meet Miles or hang out with him. Okay. Please, I wish you'd gone forward to Andrew. Alright, so round 5, character 1 is Amy. So, as I was just explaining, Miles and Amy are from Earthquake. Amy's from Earthquake. She's Miles' mom. She was married to John, and they lived in Missouri, and John was a very hardworking man, so Miles is a lot like his dad, and John died, and Amy lost her husband, so she's a widow, I don't know what the term is for women, but she's a widow, and her heart is broken, and she's just trying to live day by day because it's really hard without her husband with her. They're not really, like, making ends meet. They're struggling financially, since her son Miles is going to college, but also having to work 2 jobs. Feels like she's failing her son. She's working, I think, 1 job right now. She's in her hometown, which is not very Christian, so she's being surrounded by a lot of old friends that she never thought she would see again, including her family, and it's kind of a weird space for her right now, and she's very much, like, fully in the depression side of her grief right now. She's a very sweet woman, so probably meet, but we'll see who the next character is. So what would you do? Let me know in the, well, you guys can't decide until we see the second character, so. All right, we've already had Kathy. So we gotta spin again. Oh, is it gonna be Dean? No. You know what? I think that's close enough. Look at that. I think I'm gonna call it Dean. This thing's lying to me. But I don't want it to be Dean, so we're gonna spin again. Liam! Okay, finally, somebody. Okay, so Liam is from Volcano. He is the main male character. He is a famous YouTuber. He's got like 50 million or billion subscribers. I think billion. He is mega famous, and he is an adrenaline junkie and a thrill seeker. So that's what his channel's been based off of, is just him doing dangerous things with his 3 immature friends, and they make people laugh, and they're super entertaining. He's extremely charismatic. He's extremely bubbly and extremely extroverted. He makes everybody just feel comfortable kind of around him. He likes pranking people in kind of innocent ways. And he's just super fun to be around, and he'll get you out of your comfort zone. But in spite of that, he's still very careful, and he thinks things through. He's not an idiot. Like, he knows how to do dangerous things in a safe way. And he's recently been injured on an adventure he went on. And because of that, he can't do like the things that he would normally do to his YouTube channel. So he's losing subscribers, he's losing views, and he hates it. And he has a big identity crisis because he puts his identity into his YouTube channel. So honestly, between Amy and Liam, I think I may... This is going to be so mean, you guys. First of all, I think I'm going to room with Liam because I just have to at this point, since I'm not spinning anybody, that any of my main guys. So I killed off Miles last round, so I have to take what I can get here. So I think I'm going to room with Liam, and I feel like I hope I roll somebody more exciting. So I love Amy. She's a really great character, and I feel bad for this. This is so bad, but I think I'm going to kill her off.
No! God, please, no! No!
At least then she could be reunited with her husband. And yes, I just said that. I'm an evil psychopath, I'm sorry. But I think I'm going to be able to meet somebody a little bit more exciting that I could get along with. She's a good character. She's a widow in grief. I should be there to help her and pray with her. I'm sorry. She's a good mother. I promise. Alright, what are your guys' choices? Probably not as psychopathic as me. Are you guys going to kill the widow like I am? Probably not. So, alright, I'm killing Amy. I'm sorry, Miles. He's going to lose his mom and his dad now. So I'm killing Amy, and I'm going to room with Liam. So let's see. It better be somebody worth Amy's life. Oh, no. I have made all the wrong choices in life. Oh, no. So, Dean is from Volcano. And like Alan and Christian, he's one of Liam's crazy friends who does all their shenanigans. Here's the thing. He's the most immature. He's a player. He is very rude and antagonistic. He's kind of an antagonist kind of character. Liam puts up with him because they've been friends for a long time, but he's extremely rude to Julia. He is a player who does not stick with one woman, so it's like a flavor of the month kind of thing with him. He is a jerk. He is a jerk, and he deserves to die. So I've basically killed the widow, and I've let the player, immature, narcissistic jerk live. And on that note, we're ending this game. What happened with you? Please tell me you guys made better decisions than I did, because at this point, I have murdered a widow. I've murdered Miles, my main character. I have let this narcissistic jerk live. And, yeah, this is pretty bad, you guys. I don't know what else to say to this. This is horrible. I am a terrible human being. All right, well, that's a wonderful note to end on. I hope you guys have enjoyed this Kiss, Marry, Kill game variation of the Calamity's Hope books, Wildfire, Earthquake, and Volcano, which is books 3, 2, and 1. Yeah, I hope you guys have enjoyed this. This has been another fun segment from the Wildfire launch party, and I hope you guys have enjoyed, and let's go to the next one. I don't know how to stop this video. Oh, wait, there's a stop button right there. I've had fun bloopers stopping. Hey guys, welcome to another segment of the Wildfire launch party. I'm so sorry I'm doing this on my phone. So I tried to create a tier list. I have been doing this for the last several days and I cannot get it to load. I've also had funky internet, but I finally got my internet to work in some cases and it still won't work. I even tried it on my phone in the browser and it won't work. I had to download a random app that's to do this. So basically I'm going to be rating all of the characters in the Calamity's Hope series that we just did the kill, kiss thing with. Marry, kiss, kill, whatever it was. That was a lot of fun, so I thought I would like rate them. So I've got all of the side characters listed here, and then my friend did this fun thing with her characters. It was just for fun. AI art, making it look like Pixar characters with her book characters, so I did it for all the main ones. So I will be talking about each one, but since they're the important, these are the main couples. So basically I'm going to be rating all of these characters first off based on my personal, like what I think of the character and my personal enjoyment and like whether I like them or don't like them. And then I will kind of move it around based on how well I think I wrote them. If I can make this go public, I will have a link in the description below. For those of you who have read the books, you guys can rate them for yourselves. So these are from Volcano, Earthquake, and Wildfire. And we have, okay, since my thing is sideways, I don't know how this is supposed to work here. Oh my gosh, I can't get this to like, okay, hold on. This is going to be so annoying. Okay, there we go. I guess I have to do it up and down. Hopefully that didn't confuse anybody. So anyways, we have S, A, B, C, D. All right, so, you know, S is the best, D is the worst. So hopefully I can actually, like, read these. I may have to, like, zoom in creepily. So, yeah, again, this is based on my personal enjoyment. So first we have Rosalind, which is from Wildfire. That is Natalie's mother. And she is this rich woman who comes from a long generation of rich people. They were in the real estate business. She's very picky, very finicky. She wants her daughter to be in the real estate business, to follow in their family footsteps and stuff. She hates that her daughter wants to work an actual job. She doesn't want her daughter to be a gymnast. She doesn't support her daughter at all. Vernon's the same way, but he, as a dad, really loves her, Natalie, and still wants to like protect her. Whereas Rosalind has this like arrogance about her that I can't stand her a lot more. So I think she's definitely D tier for me, whereas Vernon is C tier, because with Vernon I can still tell that he really, really loves her. So Samuel is going to be A tier. Samuel is also from Wildfire. To clarify, also Vernon is Natalie's dad. So Vernon and Rosalind are from Wildfire. That's Natalie's mom and dad. Samuel is also from Wildfire. This is Andrew's grandfather. So Andrew's grandfather is the main owner of the resort that they own, and he works very closely with his daughter Kathy, who is Andrew's mother. And I love him. This is one of the old, like, I love this guy. He makes such a good grandpa, and I don't know, I just love him. I don't know if I pulled some inspiration from my real grandpa, but I just really love him, and they go on the shooting range, and him and Andrew have this joking relationship. I think he did fight in one of the wars, so he's also a war veteran, and so him and Andrew have that in common. And he just has this really joking kind of old man, kind of jokester personality that really bounces well off of Andrew. So Kathy is also from Wildfire. That is Samuel's daughter, also known as Andrew's mother. And I like her. She's a very country woman. She helps run the resort with her father, Samuel. She is kind of an independent woman. She knows how to shoot a gun. She really likes it. She likes working at the resort. She loves socializing and interacting with people, whereas her ex-husband, Jacob, Andrew's father, hated working with people. And so that's the difference with her, is she's kind of more of a social butterfly that's kind of perfect in this owning a resort and running a resort that's also kind of a ranch resort, really. So she works and interacts well with people. She's extremely charismatic. I like her as a character. I'm going to give her B tier because she's a really decent character. So Angel is also from Wildfire. It'll probably be Wildfire, Earthquake, and then Volcano, just to let you guys know. But Angel is actually on here twice. So Angel is Andrew's dog. She is a PTSD, like, service dog. So when he starts to go and having flashbacks, she can sense his anxiety and that sort of thing, and she's there for him. She kind of helps him come back out of it sometimes. She's a really sweet Labrador dog, and I really, really love her, honestly, and I wish she was a real dog. So I'm definitely going to give her S tier for a dog character. I think she's really good. One of my favorites, honestly. Next, we have Jacob. Is Andrew's dad, and as I said, he's Kathy's ex-husband, so he also helps run the resort, but he hates people. He hates the rich city slickers that come in here and want to turn country for a weekend, and it drives him insane. He hates the way the rich people act and how they treat the people like him, who is kind of from the poorer side of the tracks. He's a rodeo guy, so he likes being on the road. He gets restless a lot of times. He mans the ranch part of the resort where the horses are kept, because the horses at the resort that are used for riding and things with the guests, they're switched out with other horses. That way they're not like over-treated or overstimulated or ridden too much, so they switch it out. So he takes care of the horses when they're at the barn and at the ranch in the fields, when they're not being used by guests, so that way he never has to deal with the resort side of things. And he also spends his time going on the road and doing rodeo stuff and everything. So he really hates people. He's not a people person. I would say I understand where he's coming from, but he's not a bad character. I'm going to give him a B, but he's kind of a low B, kind of just above Vernon. I would say there was another Angel. Oh, that's Amy. Yeah, making sure the other one was Angel. So Amy is from Earthquake. She is the main character, Miles, in that book. She is Miles's mom, and her husband recently died, so she's a widower, or widow. I don't know what the proper term is, but she's in her grieving process. She just lost her husband. She's super sad, and she's trying to handle it. She's still she prays, and she's trying to move on, but they didn't have the money to stay, and she didn't want to mooch off her husband's family. She felt like that was wrong. So her only choice was to move out to California with her family, and they helped her get on her feet. And so now she's kind of in her old hometown, surrounded by her old friends. And so she's trying to kind of use that to heal. But it's she's still grieving because she just lost her husband. So, Amy, Miles's mom from Earthquake, I'm going to say she's an A character, just because I like her and how how she's turning to God in her grief, even though it's hard. All right, so Luke is also from Earthquake, but he is the main female lead, Lizzie, in that book. He's Lizzie's dad. So he and his wife, let me see if I can move it. Yeah, he and his wife, Evelyn. Let me move myself up here. Okay, so he and his wife, Evelyn, I've lost track of what I was saying. Sorry. Lizzie's parents are Luke and Evelyn, and they lived on Evelyn's family owns a ranch in Montana, and that ranch passes down in the women line in Evelyn's family. So it passes from mother to daughter. So Evelyn inherited it from her mother, Elizabeth. And Luke supported Evelyn. He made a lot of sacrifices so she could stay in Montana and run the ranch, and he worked on it with her. And so recently he got a promotion in his job. And so Evelyn was like, "You've sacrificed a lot for me, Luke, so we're going to sacrifice for you." So she took Lizzie and her brother and Luke and Evelyn, and they moved out to California so that he could finally pursue his dreams. So she's kind of making a sacrifice for him this time instead of the other way around. So I would say But of course, Lizzie didn't want to move out there. Lizzie wants to take over the ranch from her mother, Evelyn. She's a country girl. Evelyn's a country woman. I would say I really, really love Evelyn's character. She's kind of like Kathy in that she's really independent, but Evelyn is definitely more of a country girl than Kathy because Evelyn just runs a ranch with horses and cattle as opposed to Kathy running a resort. So that's kind of the difference between Andrew's mom, Kathy, and Lizzie's mother, Evelyn. Kathy being, of course, in Wildfire and Evelyn being an earthquake. But for Luke, I would say he isn't selfish, but at this moment, he seems selfish because he's moved his whole family out there to this town that doesn't like them, that they also don't like for a job promotion, but he has made so many sacrifices in his past that it's kind of like his time. But he loves his family. He's a super family oriented man. So I'm going to say Luke is... Do I like him less than Kathy and Jacob? Oh. I think I'm gonna... He's also a reigning champion of aggravation. I'm gonna say right in front of Kathy. Yeah, and then Evelyn, I'm going to say, is right above Amy, actually, just because she's a country woman through and through, and she runs a ranch in Montana, and she knows a lot about horses, and I really like that kind of character, and I like her, and she's a really good mom. So Evelyn, Lizzie's mother, is right in between Samuel and Amy. All right, James is also from Earthquake. He's Lizzie's brother, and he and Lizzie have this banter, hate-love relationship, but deep inside they really love each other. He is a city boy, but he actually still doesn't like the move you would expect him to, but he left behind a woman that he really loved back in Montana, so he one day just up and said, like, hey, because every weekend Evelyn and Lizzie drive to the ranch in Montana to take care of it every weekend, and one day when they go back, he says, I'm staying. So it kind of feels like he's tearing the family apart. He's a good character. He's just like, he wasn't necessary to too much of the story, I would say. So I'm going to say he's... I don't know. I like that Jacob is a rodeo guy. So for me, I like Jacob just a little bit more than James, but I love the sibling banter between Lizzie and James. They have this really wonderful banter that's super fun to read. And so I would say he's a really good character. So he's a B character. Because B is just like good for me. So those are like average, and then A is great, S is awesome, and then C is just meh, and then D is just not a good character. Which of course I wrote the characters this way, so they're all who I intended. So Bear is Lizzie's dog. He's a husky mix. They raise huskies, and so he was bred, and they usually like sell them. They have license and all that, but Bear, like, Lizzie got attached to him, so her parents let her keep him. And whenever they moved, she was so close to him that, Lizzie was already leaving a lot in Montana and didn't want to leave Bear. So they allowed Bear to come with her, but this is a city, and well, it's a town really, but they consider it a city because it's bigger than what they're used to. But there really isn't anywhere for him to run, and they have to have strict leash laws when they weren't used to that back home. And so, because he would just run around on the ranch and everything, so she feels bad that it's not a good place for Bear. But I really love Bear. He jumps on her all the time, and he's kind of got that just fun dog. So I'm gonna say another dog, S tier characters. Again, another dog. All right. So now we're into Volcano. Talon, he is a YouTuber. So in Volcano, Liam is a YouTuber. He's really famous. And he and his best friend Julia decided to go to Hawaii on a vacation because he injured himself. So he hasn't been able to do his thrill-seeking videos like he normally does. So in it, they go on vacation in Hawaii with a bunch of YouTuber friends to do this collaboration. Talon is one of those YouTubers. He's really handsome. He's super shy, and he's an artist. So a lot of his videos are all voiceover. So he hasn't ever revealed his face to the public, to like online. So I would say Talon is definitely, I really, really love his character. So he is definitely, oops. What is going on here? So he's definitely A tier for me. Dahlia is another YouTuber that goes with them in Volcano, and she is a gamer girl, so she just games, and she's really fun. I would say, yeah, she's kind of relatable for me, so I'm going to put her right after Samuel, but right before Evelyn. So if I could get her up there. Oh my gosh, this is super frustrating. Okay, yeah, so I would say Callan, Samuel, Dahlia, Evelyn, and Amy. All right, Nolan is another YouTuber. He's a history YouTuber. And so people, when they like first meet him, they assume, like, based on what they've heard of him and his YouTube channel and how smart he is, they assume he's like this old professor, but he's actually this really young, kind of handsome guy, and he just loves history. He's a huge history buff. I love Nolan. He's one of my favorite characters in Volcano, so he's definitely S tier for me. So Jacinda is another S tier character for me. She is a military brat, so she grew up moving a lot, and her dad was like a high-ranking general. She also grew up having to be tough because of that, being a woman in a military household, and her dad taught her a lot about military and survival skills and stuff. So she's another YouTuber who does like survival skills and, teaches people different tips like that, which really contrasts with Liam, who does a bunch of reckless, stupid stuff. And so the dynamic as they try to find a collaboration together is kind of fun. But she's definitely S tier character for me. I love Jacinda very, very much. So Dean is the worst character in all three of these books, but I wrote him that way. He is a narcissistic, arrogant jerk who is also a player who breaks women's hearts, and he's handsome and he knows it, and he is a jerk, and he is irritating and annoying and frustrating, and I hate him. Wrote him that way. So I would say, well written wise, he's S tier, but I hate his guts. He is not a fun character. So I would say Christian and Alan. Okay, so basically in Liam's videos, he has this crew of his best friends, Dean, Alan, and Christian, who are always in with the shenanigans. So Christian and Alan and Dean are all young, early 20s guys, and they're all kind of immature. I would say Alan is the most mature, which is why he's going in the B tier at the bottom, because like they're kind of very similar. So for me, I don't see too many differences other than Alan is a little bit nicer, a little bit more mature. He has a little bit better voice of reason than Christian or Dean. I would say Christian is still very much immature. He's just a bit better than Vernon, because Vernon is still kind of really strict in Wildfire with Natalie. But in Volcano, Christian is still like Christian, Alan, and Dean. Christian and Alan particularly are just young, fun guys that want to thrill, and they love filming these crazy videos and doing pranks and stuff. So for me, like me personally, I wouldn't really get along with them too well. So that's why Alan is low B tier and Christian is C tier for me. But I do like him better than Vernon, because at least he's not a strict jerk like Vernon. Now we're to the main characters. So I personally love all of these characters, so they're probably all going to go in S tier, but let me think this through. So we first have Julia from Volcano. Let me start that over. So we first have Julia from Volcano. She's the main character. She is a photographer. She kind of acts motherly, but she's just very safe. She's a Christian, and when Liam does his reckless, stupid stunts, she's often the voice of reason. She tries to deter him from doing stupid stuff, especially after his accident where he almost died. She's really scared on his behalf, and so she's a really sweet girl. She's a really sweet woman, and she sees life. She wants to be a photographer, but take pictures of something that's going to change the world. She's inspired by her grandfather, who was a photographer in the Vietnam War. And so she really wants to like use photography to make a difference. So I'm going to say, in terms of how much I like her, I have to be fair. I'm going to give her S tier, and I like her better than all of these. So let me see if I can get her moving here. Sometimes this thing doesn't want to move. Like, why? I don't want to have to. Oh, this is so frustrating. Just put it. It won't move. Oh my gosh, this is going to kill me. So Jacinda. There we go. Okay. That's going to be frustrating. So Liam from Volcano is Julia's best friend. They've been best friends for a very long time. He is a famous YouTuber. He is wild and crazy and charismatic, and he loves being on camera. He brings joy wherever he goes. He makes people laugh. He makes people have fun. Even the most shyest person or the person who doesn't like to interact with people usually find him still really funny and lighthearted and fun to watch, even if he can be exhausting for some people. He seeks thrills. He lives for being in danger, but he's also cautious and very safe. He's super smart, so he's not like stupid. And he acts fun, but not in an immature way, kind of like Dean and Alan can be. Dean and Christian can be particularly. So he does have a voice of reason, but oftentimes he doesn't listen to it. So Julia is oftentimes his voice of reason. I love Liam. He's one of my favorite characters of all time. So I like him better than Julia, I'm just going to say, just because he's fun. So next we have Natalie from Wildfire. So as mentioned before, she's a gymnast. Her parents are both very rich. They wanted her to go into the family real estate business. She did not. She wants to be a gymnast, and she also loves working. Like, she works at a breakfast restaurant that opens just in time, like for breakfast hours. And she really loves just working and actually knowing what it's like to actually just earn your own money and stuff. So she's really down to earth. She is not a Christian, but she is seeking truth. So there's kind of that journey to her character. She had a car accident, so she broke her hand, and she has a gymnastics meet coming up. So she's really stressing about if she can get good enough in time for the meet to actually happen. So I would say the way that I wrote her and the way that she is, I actually like her better than Julia. If I could get her moving here. Oh, I hate that. I hate this. Why? There we go. So yeah, I like her better than Julia, just because her personality is just really fun like that. The urge to like work hard and stuff, I like her. So Lizzie is from Earthquake, and that's who we have next. She is the one with her parents have a ranch in Montana. And as I mentioned before, the ranch passes through their family and the women in their family. So her grandmother, Elizabeth, gave it to her mother, Evelyn, and she will inherit it from her mother, Evelyn, at some point. She wants to take over. She's afraid that she's not ready yet. She hates that her dad has dragged them all to California, to this town that she hates, that doesn't really like her either. She doesn't fit in. She's a fish out of water. She's a Christian and the town is not primarily, and it's just, she misses Montana. She misses her home. She's really, really homesick. I really love Lizzie's character. I absolutely adore her. So I would say my likability of her, I don't know. It's a close between these three women, y'all. Like, if I could ever get this to rate this thing properly, says a lot that I like the dogs better than I like Jacinda and Nolan. I hate this. Thank you. And I think I like her better than Natalie just because the country girl is something I can kind of relate to. But I like her and Natalie. It's almost pretty much even for me with them. I may even like her better than Liam. I don't know. It may be Lizzie and then Liam. I can't decide, so we're going to leave it like that for now. Next up, we have Miles. Miles is from Earthquake, and he is the main guy in Earthquake, obviously. So while Lizzie, her family owns a ranch in Montana, his family is very poor. His dad kind of provided everything, so when his dad died, it devastated him and his mother. As mentioned, they couldn't afford to live where they were anymore, and she didn't want to mooch off of his family. She felt wrong for doing that. So they had to move out to California to her family. He hates it. He's grieving. He had to leave behind his friends, his dad's side of the family, the support system that he knew while grieving for his dad. So he has a lot of, he has a very, very hardworking personality. So while going to college to help them provide, he's working, while going to college, I mean, he is also working 2 jobs, and he has almost no time for himself. And even then, he's the first to volunteer for a project. He really loves architecture. That's what he's going into. So he has a passion for building things, and he overworks himself, and he's also not dealing with his grief. So he has a lot of anger issues that he's boiled up inside just because he will not grieve, and will not deal with his grief either. So I definitely like him I can understand some of the struggles that he's going through. And so that's why I'm going to say, I think it's really hard to compare him to other people not in his book. I think I like him almost as much as Lizzie, but I think it's the grumpy sunshine trope. So he really is grumpy and has a kind of a downer mentality, but gets along well with Lizzie, and they bounce off each other really well, kind of like Liam and Julia do. And then last but not least is Andrew. He is from Wildfire. He is a war veteran who came back from overseas, lost his leg. So he's dealing with having a new prosthetic and dealing with not having a leg. He's dealing with PTSD. He is a country boy and he's hardworking. He's a Southern gentleman, a true gentleman. And he is absolutely, I wish I could have another tier above S tier, because he would absolutely be above S tier. Andrew is a tier unto himself, and even my beta readers absolutely adore him just because he is such a gentleman. He has a lot of wise words. He's very logical. He thinks about a lot of different things. He treats women correctly. There's even scenes in the book where he's at physical therapy and there's this older woman there, so he goes and walks her to her car when her daughter doesn't even come in to help her. And he, and he's himself doesn't have a leg and stuff. He's just such a Southern gentleman, and he has really good wisdom and ideas. So one thing that Natalie really falls for him about is that he presses her and kind of gets people to thinking outside the box, outside of their little bubble. And, I think one of the things that he says is people never want to expand their thinking. They just want to stick with what they know, in their little bubble, and never try to think more than what they've done before, or something along those lines. It's written better in the book. It's 3:30 in the morning for me. So he's the best character I've ever written in this series. He's the best character I've written in a contemporary romance setting at all ever. And again, if there was a tier above S, he would be a tier above S. Andrew is the best of the best. So all together we have Andrew, Liam, Lizzie, Miles, Natalie, Julia, and then Angel, Baird, Jacinda, and Nolan. We have Talon, Samuel, Dahlia, Evelyn, and Amy. We have Luke, Kathy, Jacob, James, and Alan. Then we have Christian and Vernon, and we have Rosalind and Dean are the only 2 D tiers. So not to get frustrated, but in terms of how well written everybody is, I would say that Andrew and Natalie are, this is going to be difficult. Why does this do? This is actually really, really frustrating. App makers, you do not make this easy. I may just have to talk about it with you guys because I can't get this to move. Oh, it's so frustrating. I hate this thing. Yes, stabbing my phone is really going to work. Oh, we moved something. There we go. So I would say Natalie and Andrew are the most well-developed characters. I would say that Julia and Liam are next. Just because, I don't know. I feel like Lizzie and Miles were not as good as they could be, so that's why she is now in A tier. I'm gonna say, yeah, basically to break this down, because I'm getting super frustrated with this app, I'm gonna say that the characters from Wildfire, I feel like Wildfire clicked with me and my inspiration hit with me so much that, all the Wildfire characters are on a S tier. They were well-developed, well-rounded characters. I would say maybe Natalie's parents may be A tier, but I feel like the concept behind them is still well-written and well-developed. And then I would feel like Volcano, Liam, and Julia, the 2 main characters, best friends here and here, are well-developed. I would say low S tier, so below all of even the side characters of Wildfire. So Samuel and Kathy, Jacob, all those characters, the Wildfire characters, Kathy and Jacob, Andrew's parents, Andrew's grandfather, Samuel, are so well developed even as side characters. They are even above Liam and Julia in terms of well developed and well written. So those are all S tier. I would say the side characters in Volcano, so those are the YouTubers, and I would say that Liam's friends, I'm going to give them, Dean is definitely going to be S tier just because he is a narcissistic player, and I'm going to say I wrote that very well. I've met a few of them in my life, so it's pretty easy to write that. But I would say Christian and Alan kind of blur together, and I didn't really well round them out as much as I could. So I'm going to honestly legitly put Christian and Alan C, D tier, just flat out admitting I didn't really develop them that well. The other YouTubers, I feel like we developed their characters on the YouTube channels really well, so I'm going to put them in S tier below the Wildfire characters and below Liam and Julia. Now we come to Earthquake. I'm going to say, honestly, with Earthquake, that Lizzie and Lizzie's family are all A tier. So Lizzie and Evelyn and Luke and James and the 2 dogs would probably go in here just because I developed the dogs. Like Angel has her purpose, and you can tell her behavior is different from Bear, the dog in Earthquake, versus the dog in Wildfire, because the dog in Wildfire is a service dog. That's Angel, whereas Bear is a farm dog, ranch dog. So I would say Lizzie and her family are well developed. I would say Amy's well developed. I would say that her and Miles, I feel like Miles could have been a little bit better. Sometimes I read him and it could just be me being overly critical, but I would honestly legitly put Miles in B tier. And then I would say, yeah, I think that's everybody. So other than that, like the only person in D tier or C or D tier is, like I said, legitly Christian and Alan, because they were kind of just extra guys that are Liam's friends that I didn't really develop as much as I could have in Volcano. It's not to say there's not room for that in the future. But, and again, I'm sorry I had to film this with my phone on a very frustrating app. So if I can manage to get a link to this, I will put it down below so you guys can take it for those of you who've read any of the books. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this. And yeah, this was the next section in Wildfire's launch party celebration. So let's go on to the next section. Hello everyone, so welcome to another segment of Wildfire's launch party celebration. So I wanted to talk about and give you guys an inside look about why and how I wrote each of these: Volcano, Earthquake, and Wildfire. So Volcano has probably the most interesting story, as it was being created with my fan group, and I did live streams every Friday, so I may or may not be able to react to those with you guys, so we're going to save that one for last. So I thought it'd be fun to work backwards and start with Wildfire, since it's Wildfire's launch. It kind of makes sense anyway. So starting with Wildfire, I guess I should start with the series as a whole. So real quick fill in for the series. Back in 2019, I knew that in 2020, I wanted to do the 1,000,000-word challenge and write 1,000,000 words in a year. And so in November of 2019, I started to plan and outline the books that would be in the series. Started to plan and outline the books that would be part of the challenge. It was January, February-ish of 2020 when I came up with the idea I had the ideas for the series, I just hadn't outlined it yet, and I started working on Volcano with my fan group. So when I first did it, again, it was 2019, 2020. I think it was 2019 when I first came up with the idea for the series. Basically, I wanted to start delving into Christian romance, contemporary romance. I'm mostly a fantasy writer, especially at that point. I had stuck with fantasy, other than when I was a kid. I've been writing since I was 10 years old, and so when I was a kid in middle school and high school, I would kind of just write about contemporary like drama, like high school stuff, middle school stuff. Even in middle school, I wrote about high schoolers, because again, those were the big kids and they were the cool kids and stuff. And it would just be all these little high school adventure books. So high school adventures in the high school. So it was basically a bunch of contemporary dramas that were always Christian. God was always involved, helping them overcome whatever problems they were going through. And obviously when I started getting toward the end of high school and graduating and going to college and starting the Valiant series and then being published, I switched to fantasy. And my entire focus was on the Valiant series and fantasy. So I wanted to get back to my roots, but in a better, more mature way, because I know that my younger self, my old writing is bad, but everybody's going to start somewhere. And so I knew more about writing, and I wanted to use my current writing skills with how good I know that my writing has improved so much. I was like, I want to write a good contemporary romance series. But at the time I had gotten so used to fantasy that there was all kinds of action scenes and magic and dragons. And I'm like, how can I get into the real world? Like, the real world is boring. That's why I write fantasy. And so the only thing I could think of that could get me into these, because I'd gotten used to fantasy and how usually in my fantasies I prefer an actual boss fight at the end where there's a bad guy or a villain or an army or a big fight, like with armies and sieges and magic and, you know, epic boss fight. But I realized in romance, the boss fight scenario, as I call it, it's a story beat that just signifies the dramatic climax of the story. I call the climax of the story a boss fight, but it may not necessarily be a fight. But I knew that most romances, the climax of the story is just this dramatic point, and I'm like, well, that's boring. And so I was like, the most dramatic thing that can happen in real life is a natural disaster. And that's where I got the idea, because a lot of romances are just a series of standalones, and it's copy and paste, where it's like a couple falls in love, and the romance series usually have a theme that they stick with. So like a cowboy romance. So like the series is a series of standalone cowboy romances, or, you know, a series of billionaire romances. Like all main romance series they're all standalone, and they all have a theme that still connects them though. And so I wanted to do that, but my theme that connects each one was going to be the natural disasters. And so that's where I got the idea for the series from. So with all that in mind, I came up with Wildfire and Earthquake in 2020 for the Million Word Challenge, so we'll talk about those later because each of those are still unique. So after that, I took a break from the series and didn't come back to it for a long time. At the time, I still actually outlined the idea for Wildfire, but different characters, different names, different premise, different everything. So the original version of Wildfire was a man and a woman falling in love, but he is an older brother taking care of his younger siblings, and he was like overworking and just had no free time for the romance, and it kind of like over focused on the drama with his siblings, because I gave each of his siblings some sort of unique problem, and then he was still trying to make money, he was still working, he was taking care of his siblings. And so I kind of let it go for the longest time because I just didn't like it. It didn't feel like a romance. There were barely any what I call ship moments, romantic moments between the two main characters. And so I was just like, Wildfire sucks, so I'm just not even gonna focus on it. So fast forward, I don't remember what year it was when I wrote it. If I find out, I'll put it on the screen. But I decided to just scrap that entire thing and start over with a new premise. Keeping the same concept, because I did have the whole book outlined, this original version in detail, including the Wildfire scenarios. Those came to me really easily, a little bit more, like at the time that I wrote them, they were okay. So I knew that I wanted the main character, for instance, to help everybody jump out the window and then be the last one there, and the flames come behind him. Like that was one I could easily picture. So anyways, I decided to scrap the whole thing because I just didn't like it, and there was just no ship moments. And I have done soldier type characters repeatedly in other books, but they were never the focus of this. Like the fact that they were a soldier was just a part of their character. It was never like the highlight of the story. Even my military action thriller book called Last Man Standing is still focused on the action and what drives the action, and not necessarily being a soldier. And so for once I wanted to do where that was like the spotlight. And so I decided to do a soldier who got injured overseas, comes back, and I was like, well, I did an injury in Volcano. Like the premise is that Liam hurt his leg and can't do the thrill-seeking activities that he does for his YouTube channel. So I didn't want to copy that, and I felt like it needed to be a little bit more worse of an injury, and so I decided to do an amputee, and then it was just a choice between the leg and the arm. And so a leg for me was easier to envision and easier to write, and so that's where I chose to basically do a wounded soldier who had lost his leg overseas. But as I mentioned, I have done a lot of soldier characters in my stories at that point, so I decided to not be cliche, and it wasn't like in combat or, blown off or anything like over the top. And I ended up researching and researching like military, not positions, but like ranks and like different, what he could have, like which branch of the military he was in and what kind of squad he could be in, what kind of job he was doing and different things like that. And so eventually I decided that he was part of like a I can't remember what the actual term is, but it's this one type of unit that goes out and helps with worldwide natural, like kind of like a National Guard, but for the whole world. And so the US and all of its allies and stuff. And in one of those, it was a wildfire, and his leg got burned and the nerves were so badly damaged they had to take it off. And so then I had to research about that and being an amputee and the prosthetics and all that stuff. So once I knew that, I was like, the rest of it kind of came pretty easily as far as I can remember. It was... I decided that he was going to meet a woman in physical therapy. So then I just had to figure out what kind of injury she would have. And then I had to kind of basically outline the book, giving them romance moments, and their romance became so strong, so strong, stronger than the other two books, and way stronger than the original idea I had for it. And after that, I pulled some of the original scenarios from the first book, but just replaced it with my characters and what was going on while coming up with some new ones. I struggled to come up with new types of scenarios, like for the disasters, because mine are over exaggerated in a way that just provides enough content to like be a good, decent chunk of the back of the book. Like, it's not supposed to be throughout the whole book, but you want it, I usually like it to be 18,000 to 30,000 words. So no shorter than 18,000 words, which is quite a bit. Like, you have to figure things out. And so I struggled to come up with different scenarios and stuff, but I watched a lot of documentaries about real life wildfires that had happened. There was one bad one in particular. I don't remember where it was, but I watched it on YouTube, and it was like a real life like documentary, and the survivors were telling their story and stuff. And so I got a lot of inspiration from that. And now that I'm publishing Wildfire, my husband and I actually discovered the new show called Fire Country, and I wish I had seen it before, because I would have come up with so many different scenarios, and it would have, like, it's exciting and thrilling and stuff, but my outlining process would have been a lot easier if I had known about that show back then, but I didn't, so I ended up, doing it through the hard work and everything else, so that's fine. So that's pretty much Wildfire, and the story behind it. So let's go back to Earthquake. So rewind back to 2020. I had done I was in the middle of doing the 1,000,000 word challenge. And as I said, I was already starting it like January 1st. I was writing every day, multiple, like, I wouldn't say 3,000 to 4,000 words a day at that point. And I'd already written 2 novels by the time I think February rolled around. And so I had come up with the idea for Volcano and wrote it, and well, actually, go back. I had worked on Volcano with my fan group, so we'll talk about that later, and I think I'd come up with Earthquake at the same time on my own. I was able to outline them both, so I actually started them at the same time, and for a while I had this pattern of writing a chapter in Volcano and then writing a chapter in Earthquake, and they were each about 1,000 to 2,000 words, and so on average that was getting me to 3,000 to 4,000 words a night, which was my word count for the night. And so I would do that for a while. Some nights I would focus on one or the other if I got more inspired, but eventually I got more inspired for Volcano, so I just wrote, finished it, and then came back to Earthquake, wrote, finished it. But the original idea behind Earthquake, again, I'd come up with the premise for the series. Volcano was the first one I came up with my fan group a long time ago when I was a younger teen girl. I don't know if this must have been middle school, so I was a very young girl. I'd been writing stories, and I actually did have the idea back then for the story of an earthquake. I had gotten into, again, I told you guys that back then I was writing a lot of like high school drama kind of books, but I had started to get into more my middle school brain version of a more exciting themes book. I wrote one about a school shooting. I wrote one where they were going on a tour inside a cave system, and it collapsed and trapped them. And I wrote another one about an earthquake, and the people went through an earthquake, and the whole book, the whole story was the earthquake. I do not remember the characters. I do not remember the premise or the plot line, and I do not remember how old it is. Judging from my other books at the time period, a lot of them were actually novellas, and I, at the time, was just like, I write stories. I didn't know the difference between a novel and a novella. Like, to me, a story was a story if it had a beginning, middle, and an end. So not everything was a novella. I don't remember what length it was. I'm assuming it probably wasn't too long. Of a book, so it probably was a shorter novella, but that's fine. My computer crashed on me, and this was before I started backing up my saves. And so I lost Earthquake, and I lost a few other books that I never saw again. And I was so devastated that I didn't even try to rewrite it, and I just moved on with my life. And I could not remember any details because that was so many years ago, and I've written so many books since then. It's just insane. So, but I was like, I really want to rewrite that book, and to have a book like that again, that's mine, that I don't lose this time. And I couldn't remember any details, but I was like, I remember I wrote a book about an earthquake and the characters going through the earthquake. I do remember that a lot of it was like the building, like the way the earthquake happened, there was like buildings collapsed and there was debris. And so the idea is that you're trying to get out and get untrapped and you're stuck. And so I remembered a lot of like that. And so for me, earthquake was the easiest to come up with scenarios of the disaster for, because one, there's a good excuse for why it keeps happening. Especially with mine, because I was having the big one in California happen, and like one fault line can trigger another, and it was just like one earthquake after another. So the scenarios were pretty easy, and an earthquake is one of those disasters that it can happen multiple times, and it's not like, obviously it can kill you, but the danger is also being trapped and collapsing. And like, you know, so there's a lot more freedom. Like, whereas a volcano, there's only so much time you have to escape before it literally kills you. So if you don't escape, you die, you know, that sort of thing. And so for me, the scenarios were really easy to figure out once I figured out the romance and stuff. And so I really just wanted to write that book because I had that book, you know what I mean? And like, I lost it, and I'll never get the old original version back, but I wanted to write it, and like my writing style is better. And so I was like, I want to write that book again, but do it better this time with me, with my adult career writing, like author self, that I'm a full-time author. You know, I wanted, it wasn't really like a pride issue, but it was kind of an issue where it was like, I wanted to have that back. You know what I mean? Like, to regain what I had lost in a weird way, but in a better way, if that makes any sense. So, I don't remember the details of coming up with everything. I remember that Volcano, I always outlined everything with my fan group using live streams every like Thursday or Friday or something. And so a lot of the ideas and the scenarios and the concepts in that book came from them, and I was just the one to like implement them and write them. And even then, when I was writing, I would call my cousin a lot. I would work with my mom or my sister and like my husband. Like, so it was like very much like a group effort of the ideas behind it. I was just the one, you know, actually writing the story. Whereas with Earthquake, everything was just all me. And so I remember wanting kind of a more down-to-earth character, because I remember Volcano was very exciting and it's so fit and I love it so much. But Liam is a thrill seeker and a famous YouTuber and a billionaire with like billions of dollars. And so I wanted a reversal of that, where we have a guy who is not having much money. You know, him and his mom are struggling to make ends meet. He's working like 2 jobs, going to college. And so I was like, well, what would like help, like what happened to the dad? And so that's where I got the idea that the main idea could be his grief. He lost his dad's dead. And then just kind of a more grounded, realistic, down to earth, not realistic, but a more grounded, down to earth kind of story. And then a more version like of 2 people who are both Christians, who are kind of more country folk in a big city in California that isn't very Christian, and they feel very alone and isolated. And Miles is angry and not dealing with his grief. He's not grieving. And it was just at the time kind of relatable and kind of a nice change up from Volcano. So they really offset each other. And that's probably why I was able to write both at the same time for a while, until I got more into Volcano and finished it first. So essentially, yeah, that's basically the how I came up with Earthquake. So now Volcano. So as I mentioned, 2020, it was like February when I started, wanting to outline a book with my fan group. At the time I was doing weekly live streams every evening on like Thursday evenings, I think. And so I usually would hold a poll and ask them like, what would you like to do? And I think at some point somebody, or maybe me, I had suggested, you know, outlining a book together. I'd gotten the idea from someone else who had done that in her fan group, but not through live streams. And I was like, I want to try that, see if I can do it. And for me, it was like easy because I would be in the video, people would be commenting as I talk out loud, and I was writing on like a computer and I would read them what we came up with. And so we started, at the time I had an outlining process that's different than what I do now, but I would come up with 10, I called them tasks, but it kind of breaks the story down into 10 sections. And you just come up with like a paragraph about each section, and each of those 10 sections, I call them tasks. I took it from when I was a writing competition judge and host, and I would come up with my own writing competitions. That's how we would outline the writing competition. And so each section of the competition would be a different task. And so I translated that over to my writing, and it made a quick outlining process at the time. But anyway, so each of the 10 sections would be divided into 10 chapters. No, 5, 10, 15, 20. Yeah, I'm stupid. So each of the sections would be divided into 5 chapters. So it makes the outlining process a little easier because you start off with, instead of just, oh my gosh, I have to outline 50 chapters right now, you just know, okay, what is the beginning of the book? So task 1, the first 5 chapters is just like introducing the characters and doing this and setting things up and getting the plot started. And so when you have your paragraph, like task 1 is going to be about this, all you have to do is take that paragraph and just break it down in 5 chapters. And then task 2, you begin that's the next 5. And so you basically just come up with all 10 tasks and then break each task down into 5 chapters, and that's 50 chapters. Each chapter, when you write it, is 1,000 words. And that means that by the end of chapter 50, you're at 50,000 words. That's a novel. It was a very easy, that's the process that I used for the Million Word Challenge, because I had from November and December to outline 20 books, and I had to have every detail outlined. So that way, when I wrote the Million Word Challenge in 2020, I could just write the scene and I knew what I was doing every night, because that saves so much time. And I also don't write as a pantser. I can't fly by the seat of my pants when I'm writing very well. I don't improv. I have to plan everything out meticulously. So that gave us an easy concept, because with my fan group, I was able to be like, okay, how do we want to start the book? And like, okay, the ending scenarios, I remember, just working with them for some of the scenarios and different things like that. And then as I got down to the finer details, I was talking with my cousin and my sister and my mom and like just different things like that. So yeah, I would do those videos. I actually searched for them because I really wanted to put them on here, and even compile them into one big YouTube video and release that at some point. However, I cannot figure out how to download live streams from Facebook in a private group. My group is set to private, and once you have a private group, you can't make that group public. And because of that, you also can't download any live streams or videos from that group. And so here we are. I don't have those clips, but I did want to react to them with you guys. So that'll be another section in this. If I decide to make it another section, it'll be another section in this celebration of, Wildfire's launch and everything, because it's just really fun to reflect. But a lot of them were like an hour or longer, and I don't want to like overwhelm you guys because this video is already probably very long. But for those of you who weren't a part of that process, it could be fun to watch the highlighted pieces and stuff. So that's kind of where I was like, some night when I actually have the time to go through them, I'll go through them and pick out some of the biggest, like the most dramatic parts where we came up with a lot, kind of show you guys the gist of how that worked and stuff. But yeah, so that's kind of how we came up with it. I remember my cousin was the one who had the idea for a big YouTuber who was like a thrill seeker. It was inspired by a YouTuber she was watching at the time. And then since then I had watched Mr. Beast's videos, and he very much does that. And so I've had a few people comment or review the book and how unrealistic his spending was. But when you that's what Mr. Beast does. Like, he gets a lot of his money from sponsorships. So they pay for the things that he does in his videos, but he has a lot of business ventures that he's into, and he makes a lot of money. And so he spends a lot of money. He spends millions upon millions of millions of dollars per video, just for one video that goes up like every few weeks or once a month or whatever. And so, I maybe could have added that he does sponsorships and stuff, but I feel like I did it according to like basically how YouTube kind of works, and I'll probably go into more detail in that later on with the ending of the series. But yeah, so the idea of a thrill seeker on YouTube that was my cousin's idea, and so we took that and expanded upon it, and again just came up with the idea for the best friend who's safer, and she's a photographer, and so a lot of those little ideas were from the fan group, and I really can't take credit for them. The idea that they go on a vacation to Hawaii and do a collaboration with other YouTubers, the other YouTuber ideas, characters were also from the fan group, so a lot of the details in Volcano were fan group and not just me. So yeah, that's the story of how I came up with the ideas for Volcano, Earthquake, and Wildfire. And at the moment, I am working on the next few books, so I do have some that are already planned. I've had an idea for one for Tsunami for a long time, but I decided to change my mind on that. I've been through several different premises of what could potentially, like, usually I come up with the disaster or the couple, and then figure out the plot from there. So Flood, I outlined around the same time that I outlined Wildfire, but similar to Wildfire, I don't like the premise, and I'm going to basically scrap it and come up with a new idea for it, because again, it just doesn't work. I don't like it. Like it's the same concept with the old Wildfire idea. So I do have an idea for a character. I really want to do a woman who's a vet tech. My sister's a vet tech, and so I hear a lot of like what her work is like, and I think that would be a fun idea for a story, and so I really want to do that. So I'm thinking, being that she's a vet tech, it would be fun to do a flood scenario with that. It kind of fits the idea really well. We are currently just kind of bouncing ideas back and forth, and so far I've been through a lot of different guy character ideas for who can be her romance guy and the premise for him, and I haven't really, like, it hasn't clicked with me yet, and when I write, I have to wait for God's inspiration to hit and be like, yes, this is it, and then the ideas come and I'm able to outline it and then write it. And then I realized that I was kind of trying to force Flood rather than working with another book in the series that my inspiration was more into, and that one, I don't know the disaster of it. As of now, it's going to be landslide, but I don't know if I can come up with enough scenarios in a landslide natural disaster to carry me through to get to at least 18,000 words, if not more. So I may have to change the disaster to something else. But at the moment, it's landslide. But the premise behind that is actually doing a male actor, and just a certain type of aspect and struggle. I don't want to spoil it for you guys right now, that I want to do, that's kind of like, I'm really excited for it. So another famous person, because we've had really like Earthquake and Wildfire are very grounded, down to earth, hardworking guys, Southern country gentlemen. And so I think it's time for another famous guy, but a very different type of fame than Liam. And so I don't have the girl character in that one either. So I'm kind of just bouncing ideas, but basically Flood and Landslide, or the actor one, are the two main ones that I've been thinking about. I need to outline them and write them. But that's basically it. So I hope you guys enjoyed this section of Wildfire's launch party celebration, and let's go to the next one. Hey everyone, welcome to another segment of the Wildfire release launch party celebration. So I'm here I found as many of my live streams as I could that had to do with the Calamity's Hope volcano, planning it and stuff. So I wanted to go over some of the highlights. As you can see, some of these live streams are pretty long. So I'm not going to be watching all of them, just showing you guys the highlights, provided I can like skip through them and stuff. So we'll see. I don't exactly have enough time to like watch all of these. Yeah, after we planned it together, I read through the book with my fan group. So some of these, I think this top one is about reading it, not necessarily planning it, but we'll see the highlights. So this was the first video where in this first one, I like was picking out what book to do with the group.
Hey guys, so a couple days ago, I asked everybody what you guys would want the next live stream to be, and everybody, 6 people voted for to help me plan another book, and this book will be added to my list of books to write for this year and everything. And then I had some other options too, and a couple people voted for those things. Hey Duke, it's good to have you here. Thanks. Anybody who's here, thanks for watching. Hannah, I'm glad to see you. So that was the one that was won. So I kind of let you guys all decide, what you guys wanted. But basically I've had, thank you guys for being here. I'm really excited. Hi Mom.
On my desk.
So basically, last year around November, I outlined all 20 stories. In December, I had a couple more ideas that I outlined and added to the list. So now there's like 23 stories on there. And recently, this January and February, I've had a lot of different story ideas. And one of them I recently outlined a couple of weeks ago, maybe a little bit longer than that. But I still have several of those ideas that are just ideas. I've had a few scene ideas. I've talked to my husband a little bit, but I have not outlined these books yet. And so I thought doing a planning session for some of these would be good, because I keep procrastinating instead of just sitting there and getting them outlined. And sometimes my brain decides to shut off. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, in terms of creativity. And I thought it'd be fun to interact with you guys and actually have you guys, pitch ideas, and we'll just kind of plan this book together. And this would be a book that I would write at some point in the year, and it would be published eventually, so you guys would know that this was one that you kind of helped me with or whatever. Because I have more than, now that we've got some people on here, because I have more than just one idea, I'm going to tell you guys the ideas that I have, and then you guys can choose which book you want us to work on. I'm going to let you guys decide. So if I have them here. Okay, so there's several different genres here. There's one particular story I've been working on kind of slowly in the background. It has more, a bit more ideas than the other two. The other two are modern fantasy books. Okay, so these first two ideas are, one of the books that I'm going to be writing this year is called Earthquake, and it's part of a new series that I am currently have unnamed that is basically contemporary, modern.
Before the Calamity's Hope series even had its name, and I forgot that I had come up with the idea for Earthquake first, but ended up writing Wildfire first, so it's kind of interesting to think about.
Day romances between two people. The romances are clean, but they're just really sweet romances, and then halfway or through the majority of the book, a natural disaster happens, and each one of these books has a relationship, a romance, and then it ends in a natural disaster. Each book is titled after the natural disaster that happens. The first book that I have already outlined that's a part of my list is Earthquake.
Okay,
so
I actually told you guys wrong, and I completely forgot that I had already come up with the idea for Earthquake and outlined it completely first, which again, like I talked about, originally came from the desire to write Earthquake again, but just my own new version of it, since I lost it the first time, so that explains a lot. And so, yeah, it's interesting that ended up being book 2, because Earthquake is the disaster that started it all. Chronologically, it happens first. So I have no idea why I ended up with Volcano first. Like, I got more into it, and I wrote it and finished it first, and that's kind of the reason why it's book 1 instead.
Two different ideas. These originally both started off as just ideas for like a random romance thing between two characters and the romance concept, and it kind of built some of these, and then I just picked out a natural disaster that I think would work with the book best. So these two, one of them is called Flood and the other one is called Volcano. So I'll tell you guys a little bit about those, and then the third book is based on a book TV series that I kind of recently liked, but I want to change a lot of the ideas of it and then combine it with a few other things, and that one's currently unnamed. It's an epic fantasy story. So if you guys want to help me work on these stories, just pitch your ideas and stuff. We can talk about which ones you guys would like to work on with me. If you guys need to know more about the stories, hey Alicia, I'm glad you're here. If you guys would like to know more about the stories, just kind of put that in the comments below before you guys decide which one that we all work on together. So while I'm waiting for your comments to come in, Flood, I had the idea. Recently, I've been kind of obsessed with movies about Samson and Samson from Sight and Sound Theaters. It's a theater in Branson.
So
Absolutely.
In my information talking to you guys about the original ideas for Flood, I told you guys that it was similar to the original ideas for Wildfire, that they're just not working. So here we go. I was obsessed with Samson at the time, and so I had the idea for a couple characters to be in a stage play about Samson. Not a bad idea, it just doesn't quite work with the series anymore.
And I really liked the idea of a romance between a guy and a girl who are both playing in a play about Samson. And of course, earlier this year, I wrote my biblical fiction of Samson, so I thought, okay, this is going to be kind of exciting. Basically, I was like, I liked the idea that this is a Christian production play, and the actress who plays Delilah on stage is actually a really nice, really sweet girl, and she's playing this, you know, Delilah, who's really deceptive. She's playing this kind of deceptive character in the play. And I like the idea that they wanted everybody in the play to be Christian, but this man actually isn't, but he wanted the part because the theater putting it out could get him a lot of other good positions in his career and kind of kickstart his career in the theater. And so he kind of lied and is pretending to be a Christian when he's really not. And so their relationship starts, and then over time they start having issues, obviously, because he's not a Christian and she is, and that creates a lot of difficulties. And this one, I really wanted to show the perspective, not just of her perspective, but him, the perspective of a non-Christian and how he comes to Christ, basically. And then, of course, halfway through the book, the flood hits, and then they're dealing with the flood and everything else, and we'll go from there. So that's Flood. That's the first idea that you guys could help me with, the first book. The second book idea is a lot vaguer. I don't have really much of an outline. I just had the idea for these two best friends who are their best friend, a guy and a girl, they're best friends, and they haven't admitted their feelings for one another, but they do have feelings for one another, and they decide to go on a vacation in Hawaii together, and they're kind of falling in love and trying to pursue their relationship and kind of see where it can go, and then the volcano erupts in kind of a huge epic Pompeii moment. And that's really all I've got for that one. I don't have any sort of romantic plot, no conflict between the romance, nothing like that. So this one's really, really vague. That's the book number 2 that you guys could help me with. And then the final one, like I said, it's epic.
So basically, I completely forgot about how I had outlined Earthquake first. I was still writing other books in the Million Word Challenge at this point, and I had ideas for Flood and for Volcano at the same time, but Volcano was much vaguer. If you notice, the ideas of Liam and Julia's friendship and the vacation in Hawaii was some of the early ideas that hooked me into the story, that made me want to write it. And then the idea behind Liam being a YouTuber really changed the game and really changed up the book and kind of brought the book to life. And that's kind of where, everything kind of started. So I'm going to skip forward and see if we can find the part where we actually chose Volcano and then go from there, because we don't need to hear about the other books. But yeah, so.
Fantasy, so it's a bit more complicated. One of the other concepts I was thinking about and debating about,
okay, so already here.
Okay, Mom suggests that a team of scientists come to monitor the mountain.
Okay, so here we actually get some good stuff in the comments. Mom had selected Volcano, and my sister liked Volcano, and my sister was the one that had the idea for one of the best friends to be a photographer, and then Mom had suggested, how about a team of scientists come to monitor the mountain? And so in the book, that actually becomes a major plot point in Volcano, where I don't want to spoil too much, but it does become a major plot point and a point of what is the word? A point of suspense, and it's just like a major plot in the book, and I really like it, and I completely forgot all these details, so it was nice to kind of just start envisioning and planning the story.
That could work. That could add a little bit to it, where these scientists are coming to the volcano because it's been showing some activity and they're wanting to make sure everything's going to be okay and stuff like that. So scientists...
The clickety-clackety of my keyboard.
Okay, so I like that. So I like the idea that the girl's photographer. I was debating about this idea for the guy, where he is famous somehow, but not like, actor from Hollywood famous. I was thinking maybe because YouTube fame is kind of a big thing nowadays, and so maybe he's a famous YouTuber, or, he does like music or covers, or I don't know, something like that. We'll figure it out.
I knew I wanted him to be I knew I wanted him to be a YouTuber. It was my cousin, I think, who came up with the idea for the Thrill Seeker kind of YouTube channel. So
maybe some conflict could arise because of his fame, maybe. I'm not sure if I like that idea or not, but I'm just throwing we just throw out suggestions and then say yes or no to anything and everything at this point. That's usually how we work and everything. So the girl is a photographer. I really like that because going to Hawaii on a vacation like that would be a huge, photography type style. That would be
YouTuber idea.
What am I trying to say? Going to Hawaii would be perfect for taking pictures and stuff, and it would be perfect for her photography. We can continue talking about him and I don't know where he would have gone.
At this point, this is where you can start to see the ideas coming into fruition. So my mom had suggested wildlife. My cousin brought up adventure, maybe makes videos based on the different places he visits, and then my mom liked that. And then that's when Hannah suggested a David Dobrik kind of character, which was, again, the YouTuber she was kind of basing it off of. And Alicia suggested they could be going with some other YouTubers as a collaboration thing. So the collaboration was her idea. Hannah said, Google him. Yes, a YouTuber. And Hannah said he does this ridiculous and outrageous things and is constantly gifting friends expensive gifts. And then my mom and my sister both like that. And so that's kind of how the whole premise kind of came to be. So I think that's enough from this first one. So after that, when we officially decided to do that, I can't find all the videos, but I did a live stream every single week. So this may not necessarily be the next week, but this was at this point another video.
So
where we start planning the book, and I just kind of wanted to show you guys how it kind of works, where I talked about the tasks and how we would come up with ideas and kind of break it down. So let's check this one out real quick.
This is my Thursday night live stream here in JW Warriors, obviously. I am energized tonight. I am super excited. I can't wait to just get creative with you guys. So I guess while we're waiting for people to come in, I will go through some announcements and stuff, basically because a lot's been happening over the past couple days. You guys will comment. It'll show up on yours, but it'll take a minute to get to mine. So while I'm waiting for your guys' comments to come in, I'll just keep. So while I'm waiting for those comments and any other ideas to come through, that's a really good idea, Mom. So she's trying to find him.
I do have to warn you, this will have tiny spoilers for a certain part of the end of the book, because this is when they're trying to get to the airport to escape. So if you don't want any spoilers, click away. I'll put a timestamp down below on what time to jump to, so that you don't hear any spoilers. But again, this is just one single part. It's not going to spoil a major part of it. These are just the early ideas, and I wanted to show you guys how it worked as we planned the book. Let me go back a few minutes.
Airport, so they would probably try to head for the airport, but the problem is that everybody in Hawaii would probably be heading there. The first one that is listed is Honolulu International Airport. Okay, yeah, okay,
so basically, we were working toward the end of the book. I can't get the comments to pop up. And then, some ideas, maybe after they find each other, they get split from the group by lava somehow. What if an earthquake happens before the eruption, which I did research that actually does happen. So if you read the book Volcano, you can actually see all of these ideas made it into the book from all the suggestions and stuff. Hannah said, I found a website with airports in Hawaii. The first one that is listed is Honolulu International Airport, and then she sent me the link. So we were just kind of researching on, okay, they would try to escape, how they would try to escape. And I mentioned earlier in this video that I assume Hawaii would have airports and stuff. So of course my cousin did a really quick search because I was on the live stream. I couldn't actually do it at the time. And so just that's kind of how we would work. Go ahead. This is the timestamp to jump to. Let me see if I can get this to go away. How do I hide this? Okay. Okay, this is the timestamp to jump to avoid spoilers. So that's kind of how we would work, is I mentioned to them, okay, this is last time we checked, this is what was going on, and they would start just commenting and telling me different like, and telling me different things. I'm like, okay, you know, this is the point where they need to try to escape. And then we came up with ideas on how that could work, and different ideas there. And there was a lot of commentators. I can't show you guys because of spoilers, but some of my oldest friends in this group and my family, and it was a wonderful, wonderful, fun process. And I honestly, looking back on this, is nice to reflect, because after reading the book and like proofreading it, I'll have a card here because that was a long, agonizing process. So the card to start the proofreading, I'll have the first episode linked as a card. But it was a very, I did not remember how many ideas in the book that made it in there were literally just everybody else's ideas and not my own. Because I can see here in the comments and like in these videos that a lot of the little ideas that made it into the book was actually them. Sorry, I thought my dogs were doing something. They're just playing. And so it's just crazy to remember how many ideas actually were everybody else's and not just my stuff, so my ideas or anything like that. Like, it wasn't me, guys. Like, Volcano is very much a book that belongs to my fan group, especially my mom, my sister, and my cousin, but the fan group as a whole also did work on it a lot, so I'm very grateful and thankful to them. So shout out to JW Warriors. I'll have a link in the description below in case you guys watching this video actually want to join it, because I may or may not actually, I may decide to do another book with him. I've been thinking about it, doing another book with the fan group because I had so much fun with Volcano. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this segment of the book, so I hope you guys have enjoyed this segment of the Wildfire launch party celebration. So let's go to the next one. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you guys had a wonderful, wonderful Wildfire launch party celebration. I want to thank you guys for celebrating with me. I had so much fun filming these and putting this all together. So thanks for watching. If you liked this video, please be sure to give it a like and subscribe for more writing and reading videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And if you really, really enjoyed this launch party, then check out my process as I fully edited Wildfire. It was kind of a long one, and after that I proofread it, and then I proofread the whole series. So if you haven't watched that, the first one and all three of those series are kind of like consecutively one after the other. So the first one to start with is Wildfire editing, episode 1. So I'll put it up here on the screen. Check that out. It's really super fun. It goes through the whole process. I had so many issues, so you don't want to miss all my problems.